Steel Rain, this is Raptor. Adjust fire. System aided, over.
Raptor, this is Steel Rain. Adjust fire. System aided. Out.
Welcome to the deep dive of Stanton Citizen. Unlike any of those silly podcasts you've been watching that regurgitate weekly videos from CIG Marketing discussing the curvature of their favorite ship, how pretty the new terrain looks while the trees blossom in the breeze, or the artwork on your subscriber flare of the month. Instead, you're about to be taken on a journey through the thoughts and minds of the people that matter. The people inside the game making an impact on Stanton for the good, or the bad. What you hear today or see does not reflect the collective perspective or position but is specific to each individual's own opinion. So without further ado, welcome to the show.
Okay. All right. Well,
the cap key now.
Welcome back, everybody. Finally, we got this. I knew audio was going to be a problem. But anyways, welcome back, everyone. I think the last podcast we were on was Mike's, wasn't it? I think together we were all on Mike's, weren't we?
That was quite a while ago, if it was.
Oh, it would have been.
I remember back only one patch, so sorry. My memory goes off then.
I think
I have very little SSD.
But I think, I know me and Cutlet, maybe Noodle wasn't there. Because I know I've been on podcasts with you, Noodle, and I know I've been on ones with you, Cutlet. But I thought that we were together on it, but maybe we weren't. But either way.
I'm pretty sure the last podcast that I was on was Mike's. And I think that was like halfway through 317, which was a while ago, which is pretty much when I stopped playing.
Yeah. Yeah, and what was the topic?
Piracy, obviously.
Piracy, maybe, yeah.
The
Wherever
only thing
Cutlet
you to do.
exists.
Fair enough. Alrighty, so I'm trying to get this back on the road, this deep dive show, and the problem with wanting to do it was that I was always overdoing it. I would spend 100 hours editing before everyone. I had a unique intro before everyone. And, I was looking at the last episode that I did, and it was 5 hours. It was, you could never match it. So I've just decided to abandon kind of the effort that I've put in it and just casually run this thing. I'm sure you guys will be on this plenty of times, and I'll cycle through a lot of people. But yeah, it'll be good, nice and casual so we won't get too deep today. But maybe we'll get deep given the guests I've got. But so in the
I
last,
can only reach in about 7 inches, so
Yeah, and I know the person here.
I really left that open, didn't I? Fuck.
Oh, did you?
Stop it. Okay, stop it. But what have you guys been up to since? I know Noodle, you're in DCS. I guess we can start with you. Where have you been since the last podcast you did with me? Where have you been?
I mean, I can't remember what patch it was when I did podcast with you, but I kind of got bored playing Star Citizen during 317. I think I was just hyper frustrated with, the state of bugs, and obviously we had 317 for so long.
Yeah.
So I kind of just decided to take a break. Since then, I've been playing a lot of DCS, and I'm slowly building a nice little community over there. And we've actually managed to pull quite a few people over from the Star Citizen community as well, which is really cool. A lot of people who never played DCS before. So a lot of people kind of learning as they go, including myself. That's pretty much it, really. Like I'm pretty keen to get back into Star Citizen. I actually played with Cutlet a few days ago. Managed to play for about 2 hours. Didn't find a single player in that time, obviously.
Great turret gunning, by the way. Yep. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, dude. Yeah, you know, when it was 317 and I wasn't playing, I just thought to myself, well, you know, I'll jump back in once 318 is out, and then 318 came out. I'm Evocati, so I did my fair share of Evocati testing. I did quite a lot of playing in public PTU as well, but then once it went live, I think I played once. And the experience was just so bad that I kind of told myself I'm going to wait till 318.1. And there was a lot of waiting. And then 318.1 came out. And I don't know, I was just enjoying DCS so much that I kind of told myself I'll wait till 318.2.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been away from home as well for a few weeks, looking after a friend's place. So, and I'm kind of in the middle of moving out and back in of this place again, so hopefully I'll be able to get some Star Citizen time in the next few days.
Can I recommend you waiting for 319 now?
Yeah, honestly.
You know what? I was actually thinking about this earlier. I thought to myself, maybe I should just wait for 319.
It's honestly like that, man. It's like we'll get to Cutlet's intro in a second, but you honestly should, because like it's ridiculous, man. It's so ridiculous. Like, and every time they like reset the database or they launch the game, it's like everything's so unstable. So, you know, in true CIG fashion, you know what they do? They drop Xenothreat. You know, like it's hell, man. It truly is. Like the last month has just been like so unbearable in so many ways. But
and you know what's crazy to me as well in terms of like how I feel right now. And I don't want to just sit here bashing Star Citizen all night, so I'm
well, then you're on the wrong podcast, brother.
But like anyone who has watched my stream for a while will know, like 2 years ago, I was saying when not server meshing, when PES comes out, it's going to be a shit show. So I set my expectations accordingly, right? And yeah, I'm still frustrated. But I think what I didn't necessarily anticipate it being this bad for this long. I think is probably why.
Yeah. And to be fair, in their defense, right, it's like, you know, this is like the entire rewrite. So, you know, I get it. It's just, for me, like, I just feel that there's a bit of it. Sometimes it's like, or really often there's a disconnect between, you know, the suffering players actually trying to play the game and then some of the decisions that get made. Like, for example, like, as soon as they wiped .2, for everyone, that was the starting point. Like, I wasn't even logging in until the PU until .2 came out because everything was getting reset. Then .2 comes out and there's no database wipe, which for money at least in rep. So it's like, okay, well, why was I not playing then? You know, and everybody starts playing, and then they just like drop Xeno. Like it's
why wouldn't you be exploiting right at 0.1?
Yeah, I was killing a lot of exploiters too. But let's just because it's uneven, let's get to Cutlet. So Cutlet, what have you been up to for the last? I guess it's been about a year since you and me shared a podcast, right?
I mean, I can at least start from 24th of February.
Yeah.
I stopped streaming Star Citizen, and I wasn't there for quite a while. There's some events that happened right in the world, so but yeah, let's not get into that sad part. Since I've been back, I was I was super deep into Evo 318.
Yep.
And I even got the freaking Vulture present from CG for being like one of the top players who did salvage in Evocati. And yeah, I was waiting for this patch a lot. Like for me, it was a Jesus patch. It still is, but it's like the worst and the the best and the worst patch at the same time.
Yeah.
The best because of the features it brings. I think even like if you combine the technology of PES and the gameplay features that come with this technology and overall with this patch, this is probably one of the most breakthrough patches in the game in terms of gameplay.
Yeah.
But on the other side, it's just not playable. It's just not playable because a lot of tech issues, because of the exploits, because of they haven't wiped after the exploits. It's just bad. Like all the plans that I somewhat had, like I never build plans because I'm pretty close to the mindset Noodle has. Set your expectations and just go with the flow. Whatever it has, whatever the game offers, you use it to try to squeeze out like a last drop of content. But even those little plans that I had for the patch, they were completely ruined by the state of the game. And considering there was no wipe between point 1 and point 2, I cannot even go back to those plans. So they're getting probably postponed to like 3.19, I guess, depending on the state of 3.19. And since all of like it was a good start when the game worked, and the moment the exploits went public, it was when the exploits went public, it was fun for the first like 3 to 4 days because you totally knew where everyone would be. But it was such a short-lived thing, and anyone who has experience in games, and especially in Star Citizens, they know these things last for like a week, and then everything dies because no one is interested in doing anything, and the game died. Same thing happened with the wipe at point 1. It was fun for 3 days, and then the game died. And it's still dead right now. Like we barely find any content, we barely find any encounters, unless like it's just an another org will be doing something and we clash and we shoot each other and that's about. But there is no reason even for doing that. So besides that, I was just spending time doing nothing and maybe like pissing off Avenger 1 a bit. That's about
it. Which we'll get to later. One thing too that's like I guess we should talk about, like, I mean, we're like old school, right? We're those old salty Vanguard from back in the day, right? And it's funny because when I remember being on like podcasts with you guys and stuff, we were always talking, like, I mean, we all wanted Eve 2.0. And nowadays, it just feels like with every patch, we're getting significantly closer, isn't it? Like, full player loot is fucking crazy, man. Like that, who even thought that was coming? Go ahead.
The big thing for me in 3.18 really was soft death.
Yeah.
That to me is so fucking exciting. But, the fact that people can just combat log, kind of throws that out the window a little bit. But I played EVE Online from 2004 to 2014. And 2014 was when I finally picked up Star Citizen. I'm very honest about the fact that there's a lot of things from EVE Online that I would love to bring over to Star Citizen for sure. And I saw this conversation kind of taking place on Reddit the other day. I can't remember who it was that brought up the topic.
Oh, I'd love to see that. Keep going.
Yeah, but about basically fighting over territory, right? And it's absolutely something I would love to see in the game. But in terms of what Cutlet was talking about, when it comes to the exploit at the drug den, it kind of takes me back to the original Jumpdown days, right? And I'm not on about the event Jumpdown that's in the game now. I'm on about what created or encouraged CIG to create that event, which was the original exploit of Jumpdown, which is, I guess, a little bit similar to what we have now. But essentially, what was great about that was, again, it was everyone knew where to go if you wanted guaranteed PvP in the PU at the time. But a lot of people forget that actually it was a similar scenario. It lasted longer back then, but it was a similar scenario in that it was popping for several weeks. But then it really fucking died down. And actually, this is when me and you first started playing together, right, Virgil?
Yep.
And, you know, a lot of people who played the game back then have great memories of it, but I think a lot of people think with rose-tinted glasses.
Yeah, yep. Nostalgia.
And when I hear Cutlet talking about this particular issue, it makes me think that, you know, the issue I don't think is, obviously the exploit is an issue, but from my point of view, I think for people like us, the main issue is the fact that the rest of the time, it's really hard to fucking find anybody in the verse.
Yeah.
Right? There's no way to actively scan people down. You just have to go to places and hope for the best.
Yeah.
And for me,
That
is the biggest change that CIG could implement that would really draw me back to the game, playing as much as I used to, if I could actually find people. Because it's supposed to be a multiplayer game. It's supposed to be, I guess maybe an MMO one day, but it just feels so dead. I actually jumped into the game with Cutlet the other day for a couple of hours, and we didn't find a single player. You know,
and it was literally the aftershock of the exploit. Like no one was doing anything anymore. Everyone had millions, right? So I think CIG. It's interesting how they created the Jumpdown event now to as a tribute to the old Jumpdown, but the old Jumpdown actually exists in the game, even without the exploit, because the drug trade is a thing right now, and it's good. And I think they actually nailed quite good the amount of drugs you can get without any kind of exploit right now. So it is a good profit, but
it's still meta to do the route.
It's still limited, and you all like you don't have problems selling. You will have problems maybe buying, but it's quite a good balance of what they hold drug labs right now at. So I kind of like it. Yeah, it's just the exploit that kind of I just feel it ruined it. Yeah,
it's kind of funny how like it's just quickly. It's kind of funny how like Brio Breakers Yard or any of the drug lab and the junkyards you sell them at. It's kind of funny how, you know, through that bug, they accidentally got closer to what genuine Jumpdown was, rather than the event, right? Like, it's like because that's what Jumpdown was, right? It was an accident. You know, like they didn't plan for Jumpdown to be what it was, and then a meta route developed. It was insanely profitable. Everybody caught word, and it was in atmosphere too, which is like just so nice. And that's the thing that's so good about these this drug route right now, like which sadly is even more popular because of the exploit. But it's like it's in fucking atmosphere, you know, like so. You don't get those really ugly wards from the flight model. Like, you know, it's the combat lasts. It actually exists. It's got the ground aspect to it too. You know, it's really good. And I don't know, I haven't looked at it in .2. Like I've been there like a couple times because I'm trying to record a video there, but like it's not nearly as popular as it was with the exploit. But that exploit is nerfed, right?
Yeah, it's dead. It's fixed, and I think the reason it's not popular is because everyone got money, right?
Yeah.
Already.
Oh,
so
I guess
before the exploit went like wild and public, it had a good balance of weight and action. Even with the proper drug values, like because first like whatever week before that dude created a video, we've been doing like all that zero to pirate stuff and all that. We had enough content. It was actually good. Like we would find people doing that. We would have to like change locations and all that, but it was fine. The reason it is dead right now because no one wants to do it anymore. A lot of money already on hands being sent to like players, friends, all that. No one just want to risk it.
Which is what I was going to bring up a minute ago. In that, with Star Citizen, there's these crazy ways to make money, right? And in even just mission running, I think you can make some really good money, but there's not really a huge amount to spend the money on, right?
Oh, that's the whole other top. Oh, that is a huge topic.
Especially if you've bought your ships with IRL money.
Yep.
Because what do you have your money? You know, what are you going to spend your money on? Ship components. Okay, you buy them once and then you've got them. Great.
See, this is what.
And then what?
this is what bothered me so much about like the Tony Z stuff. Like at SitCon, everybody worshipped Tony Z, right? Like they're like, wow, like look at these PowerPoint presentations, like this is the greatest thing ever.
A
And I'm
whiteboard.
just sitting here like where's the fun in any of this? Like what are you like? Yeah, this is cool and all,
What
but
are you
like how is
worshipping?
this
Yeah.
fun? Yeah, like when this gets into my hands, you know, like what makes this fun at all, dude? Like, and that's what
It's
really
what I've been
bothered
saying
me.
like for years to my own audience. You guys, or maybe not my own audience exactly, worship Tony, but you guys worship like Tony Z, but you're actually worshiping a devil
Yeah, he's the
instead of a
false
god.
prophet. Yeah,
Yeah, it's the false prophet who
he's the
will
problem.
like, yeah, like it's like all this quanta stuff, unless really properly managed in a correct manner, will be just a tool to control completely the population of the game, like player population and what they're
Yeah,
doing.
like we don't
And
want a
it will
dungeon
not give you
master, right?
freedom, it will take away freedom,
Yeah,
basically.
because all it does is gives them the dungeon master role, right? Like
Yeah, it's a
they have
game
the
for the
notes.
game developers. It's like
Yeah.
literally creating a game for Chris Roberts to
Mhm.
play, but not to play like a player, but to play like a god, right?
Yeah,
That is
So
exactly how I describe it to people. Whenever I describe
Yeah.
Quanta, I basically explain it as a game of civilization, but Chris Roberts is the person playing, essentially.
And the
Pulling
only
the
person
strings.
playing. He's not playing along with you. He is playing, and you are that unit on the ground, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
And it's like the worst thing is just like someone linked, I think it was Salty Mike's Discord. Someone linked an old economy video, this is like real early days, and like Chris is talking about this like intricate player economy that's like, you know, it's basically Eve 2.0 economy, right?
Like missiles go there, people
Yes,
use
that
ammo
video.
there, and there's
Yeah.
like this PowerPoint that the lines go between hexagons, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And then somewhere along the line, and mind you, I wasn't there at the beginning, you know, in the dark ages, but like somewhere along those lines, it turned into this 90% PvE economy, 10% players. It's like
Yeah.
where like at what meeting were they like, hey, this is way more fun than a player economy? Like it does
I
that
think
doesn't
they have
exist.
different. I think they have different approach to what fun is, to what we
Yeah.
are looking for. The three of us are looking for here, right? It's like viewers can be looking, or maybe are looking for something else. A lot of the game population may be looking for something else, and that's the whole point of their marketing being so vague in what they say, so they can come up with a final decision at the point when the game is much more developed.
Yeah.
And they will see what the majority of the audience want and just play on that, right?
Yeah.
To keep the majority of the audience. And then we all like who love like this like player generated stuff, like player driven economy, we'll just get effed, but no one would care because the majority wants the other thing, right? It doesn't matter that they promised this to us back in the day. Who are we? Like a vocal minority, that's it.
Yeah. And I think like
It's sad.
Every time I talk to like Mike, and I talk to him so much about this, every time I go to his podcast, I always preach it's like, you know, the thing that's stopping us from having fun is like progression and economy. And that's what's like super frustrating about the game is that like it keeps developing in a really good direction. Like hardcore looter shooter, yeah, sign me up. Perfect. I didn't even think we were going to have that. So the fact that we can loot player bodies is so awesome. You know, and then we're a patch away from being able to loot spaceships, which
Components,
that you know,
That's really
completes
exciting to me.
the looting. Dude, that's Eve 2.0.
Yeah.
You know, like that's it.
And
Like you can
the only
strip
issue
down.
here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. So okay, so the only issue is here, like the definition of Eve 2.0, like why it is important in Eve, right? Because it plays a bigger part. It plays a part in a bigger picture, right?
Yep.
And the huge problem with Star Citizen, at least from what they said, we cannot still see that bigger picture being even developed. Or are they going to develop their bigger picture? Or is that bigger picture is going to be just like 9-to-1 NPCs doing their own stuff and like whatever, you know? That's what we need for like what you mean under Eve 2.0. Like Eve has bad sides and good sides, right?
Yeah.
So we want the good sides, right?
Yeah.
And again, good sides is it's so like dependent on your perspective and on your point of view. Maybe a lot of people don't really want this, but obviously we're talking about ourselves right now, right? And our feelings. So there has to be this meta game. There has to be this play in the game where smaller stuff you do ripples upon the lake of events that are happening between players. So you want those components because you're taking away those components from a person, and it's not just like AUC, it's their supply lines for a power control, and then power control gives you like ability to farm resources by your PvE players in a certain region, and that region is protected by you because why? Because you want to produce more stuff to gain more control, and there is this asset market where things are getting destroyed, things are getting produced. How it's going to work with their like LTI insurance systems, like I just don't see it now. It's very complicated, and that's what you need for Eve 2.0. Because if Eve 2.0 is just like looting people to get more AUC, it's not going to last for too long. It's going to be like, it has to be then like Tarkov based wipes, because the moment someone reaches a certain amount of money, the moment someone reaches the certain amount of AUC, nothing matters for him anymore, right? It's just dead for him. Yeah.
But I think you can buy, like, the issue, right, is that if all roads lead to ships and ships support with credit cards, then the game's always going to win, right? So, like, and I preach this on Mike's podcast, which I try to get on every time I can, is like, we have to evolve past the ships. And you can do that in many ways, right? Like, if a ship is nothing, if a ship is just 10% of its worth, like the deed, and then
if
all of its worth is in the components.
Imagine ship being your character class.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's so many ways
you can do it that way
to get past it. Yeah, like, if if a ship comes stock and it's trash, and then it's the components and the paint job and all that stuff that gives it worth, and that could be done too. And like also like if you lose components on death and stuff like that. So but I think it's crazy to me that we were all pushing Eve 2.0 style, which is exactly what we're getting, by the way. But like, we were all pushing this, and everyone was giving a shit. This will never be Eve 2.0. It's not ever going to be that hardcore game. And every chance, those guys are getting proven wrong. Like, it's funny. Like, I keep talking about him, but like, whenever I'm on Mike's podcast, like, I'm always pushing the PvP narrative, and he's always like, yeah, but like, it's not that type of game. But man, we keep winning all these battles. It just keeps getting more hardcore and more hardcore, and I'm here for it, man. Like,
at the end of the day, it really is as simple as what role does Chris Roberts enjoy playing in this kind of game? And the fact of the matter is, he likes playing the pirate, right? So it doesn't necessarily matter what random person off Reddit who's complaining about X, Y, and Z wants. All that matters is what it's exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So it's CIG and Chris have been very open for a very long time about what Star Citizen is going to be. And I get it. There's a lot of people coming into the game now who are pretty new, who haven't had the joy of watching, the Star Citizen Christmas special and all of the old Around the Verse and Wingman hangar videos, right? And there's a lot for those people to learn. But for those of us who have been around for a long time, I do remember all the things that they said years ago, and I set my expectations accordingly. So, like, none of this stuff, things like soft death, etc., things like, like somebody on Reddit the other day was trying to tell me that I was going to get banned for PvPing at Xenothreat. I was like, well, please show me evidence of this.
They said that they said it on an ISC. They said that on an ISC that you're going to be able to join Xenothreat. Like, they said that on an ISC.
They just haven't built the PvP event around it yet.
Yep.
That's the thing. So yeah, I get it, but again, I got to preach, like, you just got to set your expectations accordingly. And it's no good coming into Star Citizen and joining the community and then having an idea of what you want the game to be, and then setting your own expectations around what you want, because that's not healthy, right? All you're going to do is eventually just drive yourself mental and then start hating the game. So I think it's one of the reasons why I'm not super salty or super mad or anything like that right now. Like, I've barely touched the game in the last year, and I don't actually feel that negative at all, because all I've done is I've just found something else that I enjoy. And if I'm not enjoying the game in the moment, then I just play something else and I come back to it when it's enjoyable again, you know?
Yeah.
I played yesterday Infinity Battles game, by the way.
Oh, isn't that a mobile game?
Did that before?
You know who runs the PvP scene on that game now? You know who's the kingpin over there? Fucking
I don't know.
It's Enaril.
Maybe, but it's like like the amount of players is so little there. But I would tell you this, in that small game, when there are like 200 entities on a battlefield, let's say, and there's a 3D raider, I have more awareness of what's going on that raider than I'm having a 3 versus 3 fight in a Star Citizen.
Yeah.
The radar is terrible in Star Citizen.
Yeah, that's something to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get to a lot of the combat stuff soon. But yeah, it's just so funny to me, man. Like, I keep thinking, like, I try to be as balanced as I can to, like, help the all PvE, no PvP guys as well. But every patch, it's like, yeah, we just win more and more ground for the PvP guys. It's good, you know, like, and they've openly talked about, like, yeah, we see that people are ganking at Xenothreat, are ganking at Siege of Orison, so, you know, we're going to make those criminal factions playable. And you're like, oh, like, really? Like, okay. Like, so you're green lighting this? Is that what this is? Like, so I don't know. I don't know who it is. It's got to be Chris, but someone up there is very pro PvP. And look, whoever it is, okay, whichever guy is making that decision, thank you. You know, like, thank you for not listening to the Star Trekkies that came here wanting a PvE game, okay? Like, and where murder hobos are just the worst thing ever. Like, thank you for not listening to them and, you know, pushing this grim, dark 40k universe that feels like it's on the way, you know? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think a lot of it is Chris.
Yeah, it could
I know
be.
there's a lot of guys from the player experience team and the ship experience teams who play DCS. And I know several of them PvP in DCS, so it could be that they want that experience and they're kind of pushing that. But I think a lot of it does just come down to Chris, you know? Like I said,
I think a lot of it too is like, a game's not interesting when it goes to plan, you know, and if it's just PvE, it always goes to plan. So yeah, it's crazy, but
the thing is, pushing this more PvP agenda as well, and don't forget, PvP isn't just like a Gladius versus narrow dogfighting, right? There's a lot more to PvP, you know, even economical PvP when it comes down to, you know, you have a set amount of X product that you can buy at a certain location, so traders are fighting over that product, right? I think it essentially creates gameplay that CIG don't have to create themselves, right?
Yeah.
I that's probably a big reason, I think, why they're pushing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, we're getting a better and better game. And I just never thought it was going to be this. I thought this was always going to be the cool sci-fi game where you buy an NFT and you fly it, and it's a fun experience for that. But, you know, the fact that it's got to the point now where we're getting, you know, closer to EVE 2.0 than, you know, CCP's ever going to get is, you know, a crazy experience. And, like, even look at the population of the PvP community since all three of us last linked up together, right? It's massive now, dude.
I was actually thinking about this last night. Like, I remember when you could literally count the amount of PvPers who played on the PU, like, daily on both of your hands. Do you know what I mean?
It was me just stream sniping a little bit of madness. That's all it used to be back in the day.
Yeah, it was like me, you know, Fragler, the other guys from Shadow Moses back in the day, Cutlet and Scarlet and those guys, and yeah, like, and I'm not talking about people who necessarily like arena commanded. Like, there were plenty of people who were in arena commander back then, but people who played and PvP'd in the PU.
Yeah.
Like, it was tiny.
Yeah.
And it's actually crazy now how many
it was
people
maybe
are.
30 people. Like, it was actually maybe 30 people, you know, and like on a good patch 50. So yeah, and like, I know we're gonna get to this soon, but like, you know, I give Avenger a lot of credit for that too. You know, like,
I do, yeah.
Back then, it wasn't that, like, you guys actually, you and B-Berry were really good at like introducing new people to the game, and I think you guys kind of started that, right?
I think
we tried to ruin it a bit, but keep going.
No, I don't blame you guys. Like, it's one of those things where I had a vision of what I wanted to do, right? Which was, I wanted to make PvP more accessible to more people, right? And I basically wanted to take I wanted to basically explain the flight mechanics to people, right? And explain the metas to people. And then I met B-Berry, and B-Berry just made my life a lot easier in that regard, because my issue is that I can be a little unreliable sometimes because of health issues. I'll just put it that way. And B-Berry was just able to really help me push that forward. And then, unfortunately, I can't remember which patch it was, but it got to a point where it felt like we were fighting against the game because of the amount of bugs in the game at the time.
It's always like
so we just decided to kind of take a break from the school that we were running, and then pretty much the following patch was when Avenger kind of popped up and really started pushing kind of the same thing, which is absolutely fine. My attitude was always just, I don't necessarily care who does it. The main reason I was doing it was because I was fed up of these fucking whiny bitches on Reddit and Spectrum constantly fucking shitting on the PvP community, and I just wanted to grow the PvP community. And it seems to have worked, because now when I see people shitting on PvPers on Reddit, I see people shitting on them back.
Lit up.
Which
they get lit up now.
They
get lit back up. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, I feel like it wasn't without a lot of work. You know, a lot of people, like, you know, I'll tell you who's super active on Spectrum, who like leads a pro PvP coalition, is Acid Rom. Like, I swear they have like 50 soldiers who hold down Spectrum every day against the PvE crowd. But like, you know, you're right though. A lot of the messaging or the message has gone, you know, more into, hey, you know, you bought a PvP game, like, you know, like, and the thing is too is in CIG, like, if you read the writing on the wall, CIG, you know, they put a PvP slider as an April Fool's joke on a patch notes, you know, like, so like, if you're not reading the writing on the wall, like, I don't know what to tell you, you know, and the game's inevitably.
Was there one? When?
Don't you know this? No, it was. I think it was 2 years ago they put it.
Oh my! Oh, 2 years, dude. I don't remember past like 1 month. It's okay.
Yeah. No, 2 years ago. A lot has happened in 2 years, but 2 years ago they put it as an April Fool's patch note. They had like a bunch of other dorky stuff.
Right,
in there.
dude. 2 years. I was like running from. Yeah. I wasn't.
Yeah, exactly.
That's 2 years. I just realized what was 2 years ago. Right.
Running from the law or someone else. But yeah, no, I get it. And yeah, it's funny. But yeah, like, that's one thing I'm really glad for too, you know, is that there's so much competition now. And it's not just like, you know, like, there's a lot of big orgs have really come out, like the PvP communities. God, it would be at least 10x. You know, in the last 3 years, it would be at least 10 times. I don't know why Joe Ryden's gifting subs when he's making me pay for stuff, but that's okay. Either way, thank you, Joe. But yeah, so like, it's there's the community's way bigger now, and I'm thankful for it too. You know, like, Avengers started. I think you guys started that. And then Avengers guys picked it up. And,
I didn't really start it. I think my attitude was like, I'm doing a very specific niche stuff. And if you stick along long enough, stick around long enough, you will learn, understand, and be a part of it. Like I wasn't necessarily recruiting. I was more like educating people,
Oh, we were though.
just
Like
yeah,
we were
I'm talking
running
about myself.
weekly.
You and
Yeah.
Bree did a great job, but I was like a more of a neutral guy. Hey, you want to learn about piracy? Just stick around, and then you'll fly with us and have fun.
It's really
Yeah.
nice as well to see the amount of content creators or streamers who are kind of getting into the PvP stuff more as well. Because back in the day, they would only like I'm trying to think about, besides myself, which streamers were really PvPing. Like it was me. You weren't really streaming that much then, Virgil. There's probably like 3 or 4 people who were streaming regularly.
Everyone else were like mining, cargo hauling, or
Yeah.
doing screenshots. That's it. Yeah.
I remember the thing that got me into this game was what was it? It was Snake Eater, who's in chat, by the way. But Snake Eater kept getting stream starts by like Jolly and Jolly's guys. Like, back in the day. But yeah, like it's
still remember
grown
Snake
so
Eater
much.
at 3.4 with his caterpillar full of widow.
Oh,
I remember that.
dude, some of the best memory. My favorite part, like, I don't want to stay on this too long, but I remember like back then, half the risk of Jumpdown was 30k before you got to Levski to sell.
Yeah, it was literally the biggest risk. And the fun part also in 3.4, I think it changed in 3.5 with all that flight model rework and all that. At 3.4, whenever you claim the ship or 30k and claim the ship, you would lose all the non-stock components. So that was another thing to get your economy running and do Jumpdown consistently. Like besides just camping it, actually taking over and have your guys run the drugs so you can afford in 3.4 fly around Jumpdown in fully equipped ships.
So here's a good question then. Here's a real question, because I made a thread about this. Do you think that we should be resetting the stock components on ship death?
If
I think so.
I would say yes.
Yeah,
I would
too.
say yes, but it shouldn't be a bug like it is right now with certain ships, right?
Yeah.
But I'm afraid like community just will not be able to take it. It's us who say yes, but I think like community will they're just gonna go mad about it.
Because they're gonna fly into an invisible asteroid or something. Like when you have stuff like this, I'm so like it's good that they've done this, but like it's crazy that they've done this also. You can lose an entire FPS kit because you fell down a staircase. So there's going to be those bugs where you crash into an asteroid and stuff, but you could balance the cost of these components, that way. But yeah, I agree. Like I made a thread about this, and like
it's like 319. 319 will show us. I'm not allowed to talk about it, but 319 will show us which direction they're probably slowly taking. I think. With that. Because no one knows how it's going to work out. Even I don't know, like whatever Ivakari has, I'm not going to talk about it. But I think they will have to come up with at least a temporary solution, because 319 will let people take off the components. And if you just get your stuff like easily back and it's still expensive, it's going to be just exploitable. Right, whatever they said in ISC, or I think it was ISC, that it's going to be like a criminal thing to do. Who cares if you can earn like 10 millions or 5 millions on like quickly exploiting your components and then go to prison once? No one would care. So they will have to come up with some sort of solution. Like one of the ways to do it would be say goodbye to all the promises of the ship components, all the promises they did previously selling ships. And any ship should come with a grade E civilian components that are like completely bad, and you have to equip the ship, and then you kind of lose them. So if you're running those civilian grades, like bad grades, grade E, like people won't even profit properly taking your components out. But then you have to upgrade, and then it's the matter of you losing money when you die. Another thing they can do is do something like Tarkov does. For example, your ship is getting exploded, and if it's exploded by your mistake, let's say, right, by crashing into an asteroid, there's should be a timer or something. If your ship is not getting raided by pirates who take your components, your insurance will bring those components back, right?
Yeah.
As an example, it's another solution. But if the moment your ship is available for claim, that's it's super theory crafting. We should talk about the timers and all that. It doesn't matter.
This is what
right?
I want. Yeah. Go.
Right, but if it's getting raided, then in Tarkov, your insurance will say, "Sorry, dude, we didn't find your components. GG." And for example, you can get those components back, right? But you have to pay a huge price, so you don't go and buy them again. You don't do all over again, flying and buying all the components. But basically,
insurance fraud,
you have to pay the same price the pirates would get for selling them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's a huge amount of money, right?
Yeah, that's
it could be done that way.
And that's how you can soften it, right? Because the problem is we want these components to reset, but it's a bit brutal for new players and average. Maybe new players get free insurance for the first month, or something like that, right? They get full
account meta incoming. You play the account only for the first month, and then you just abandon it.
As I was saying that, I was alt accounts, But there's just a bit of push and pull, right? If you lose components, maybe insurance costs, half the price that took you to buy them or something like that. You can get it to the
I think
point,
the most frustrating part with the components right now is you have to fly around Stanton. That system of purchasing stuff and and flying around the entire Stanton to get your ships ready is just disgusting. It's bad. There should be an a CAG Prime. Subscribe.
Dude, I'm gonna stop you there
and get a
and I am going
to Grimhacks, whatever.
I'm saying now, what if we had a system where we could pay players to drop things off to drop-off locations for us?
Oh my god!
Yeah, whatever, dude. It doesn't matter. Whatever system, if they can implement quickly, so the players can just go buy FR66 in bulk, 100 things, bring them to Grimhacks and sell them with a 10% or whatever, margin on top of that. Fine. Sell them to the store. The store will, the component store at Grimhacks will take them they earn money, and then they will sell that to the player base who are at Grimhacks, let's say. Those components will be in that store until that stock of 100 will run out. There are so many ways to do it. It's just, the fact is, the way it is right now, the flying and getting your ships equipped, it's really bad.
Yeah.
Especially if you have crime stat that ever does this quickly, my dude.
Because that's the problem too, right? Is you get crime stat, and then you can't go and shopping anywhere once you've got the crime stat. And I try to hold on the crime stat.
I never go shopping without the crime stat because it's so bad. It's an awful experience. It's one of the reasons. I take a Cuddy Blue, I go to Grimhacks. Grimhacks has FR76. That's literally all I need. FR76.
That's the size 2, right? Yeah. Oh yeah. So
the size 2. I know. That's the point, right? Jaeger Quantum Drive. It's pre best in slot. Grade B. And that's it. I remove few repeaters, put it on the ship. I'm done. That's it. I just don't do it. It's the experience of shopping in the game is awful.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's I get the Atlas quantum drives from Herald 5, and then weapons, and usually that's all I need. But don't tell the org that. But yeah, I dread the shopping experience too, because especially with running out of fuel and stuff like that too. And I think those contracts for dropping stuff off is inevitable. We're probably not even further than a couple patches.
Dude, we already have box missions in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
What do we always complain about? We always complain about a lack of player interaction, right? And player interaction isn't necessarily always meeting somebody face to face and shooting them in the face, right? I would love to be able to place an order for somebody to drop
like
something
escrow,
off for
escrow
me.
market, right?
But you don't
Like
Exactly.
you create an escrow. Yeah.
You don't need a game mechanic for that in 319. That's what's important to know too, Moise, is you could pay someone to just do this. You could organize this in Discord. You ping your Discord, hey,
Oh,
I need someone to drop
absolutely.
off 10 FR66 shields. I need 20 Hearst and attritions, who can fulfill that order? And someone will do it. Like
Absolutely.
it's
and this game is a king of workarounds like that.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to actually have a system that is built for that.
Yeah.
But I
And
also
that is financially safe, right? It's a two-hand transaction with a handshake. Items, money, accept, done. Because, for example, today we were scammed for railguns.
Really?
That guy was killed. That guy was killed by. The dude was killed by one of our dudes previously on the same session, and then Kowalski was buying railguns. So the dude came in, and I was like, Kowalski, don't pay money upfront, and Kowalski did. And he said bye-bye. I mean, it's like 200K. Who cares? But the fact is, that's an example, right? Yeah,
you didn't bring like Jace to the fucking meeting or something, did you, dude? Was it like Jace or someone? No, I was gonna say. That's hilarious. Yeah, alt accounts only, man. Yep. But that's what and that's good. Like for me, that's signs of a universe, like a community where your bad reputation can bite you in the ass. That's
sure.
actually.
I've said this for a long time, dude.
It'll bite him and his org in the ass so badly.
Yeah, exactly.
Later on.
And these are the kind of stories I want from the game. So that's great. But like it's important to know that we're already there, right? Like we don't have the in-game like pickup group way of doing it, but you can organize that behind the scenes. Like Mike's got like a gun running business where they're going out, clearing out bunkers and then selling guns. Like you could place an order for FPS stuff, with his org now, and then next patch with ship components also. So like it exists, which is crazy to me because that means that the economy is really taking shape. But they have to, there's got to be more to buy than that. And if these components just get reclaimed for 3,000 UEC every time you ship claim, then then it's not even really an economy, right? So we do have to lose components on def, I think. And
I don't know. Imagine like just having like one patch, let's say, right, where you cannot buy anything. I would like to see like this happen for like one patch, even like for at least like a month, not even a full patch. You cannot buy anything, but NPCs can come with different components you never know, right? And basically you if you kill an NPC and if you bother to go out and check their components, you might be lucky enough to get like grade A militaries, and they'll sell them to other players. And you just cannot buy anything. Just cannot. I want to have one patch like that and see how it will steer up the shit in the community, right?
I'm a firm believer
this flea market will work, right?
I'm a firm believer that you shouldn't be able to buy grade A military.
Oh, for sure.
That's always been weird to me.
Yeah, you're able to buy everything right now. It's just bad. Yeah. And then people who are spending time getting out of their ships, checking the components that are inside of NPC ships, they're going to get rewarded because everyone will want to get like that grade A FR shield or whatever they will be selling, right? And then on top of that, like those components slowly shoot whatever the word is, like getting damage over time beyond repair. So like there is a circulation of that. So it's not like after a week, everyone has everything. They still like keep failing and just breaking, and you have to bring in like the new ones and all that.
You can assume that we're going in that direction just based off the availability of like railguns, Noodle. Like you could always buy railguns.
It just
this is what I was going to say, right? Like when people, we've had loss of FPS armor now for a while, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and what do people do when they get knocked down and they lose their armor? They go back to that location and they get their armor back, right? If it's still there. Well, we have soft death now. So, and especially in 319 where we're going to be able to attach and detach our components,
Yep.
So imagine that we actually lose our components in 3.19. So what do? You go back to your soft death ship and you grab your components back. Is it
Your
more work than
components.
pulling
Yep.
armor off a body? Absolutely, yeah. But people
It's more
will
money.
be able to get their ship back,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, maybe
Like
it's
another
time.
way they can go about it is just for now make components cost like less or something like that. So it's not a tragic loss, but you're rewarded by going and picking them back up, and then no matter what you do, you get stock ship whenever you're reset. Right, the components cost less, but you get a stock ship. But then again, there is still a problem of shopping. It's
Yep.
still a problem of shopping.
Yep. And the problem is though, dude, right? Is the game's always going to be NFTs? Like we're playing Star Atlas until this economy starts to mean something. Like,
Yeah.
True.
like that's
True.
like you see someone flying an 890 and you're like, oh yeah, cool. Like that guy, spent $500, $800 on it, whatever. There's nothing impressive about it. Someone hops in a hammerhead, you're just like, oh look, that guy, clearly bought that. It doesn't mean anything. And we got to get past that point, like that, because that's if you're out here and you're a trader, right? Like, what are you buying? Like you're buying more ships that have no meaning because other people bought them with credit cards. So there's nothing exclusive, nothing rare, nothing cool about it. The only kind of cool thing is maybe you bought a skin that's no longer available, but there's no weight to anything, and that's the point we got to get past. It's
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
all roads lead to the ships, and the ships you can skip any grind with a credit card. And I think
Yeah.
as soon as they solve that problem, then I can really get behind it. I'll even stop calling it a scam at that point. Like at that point, like I will ban myself from calling it a scam if these ships aren't the end all be all. So because that's all I'm doing right now. Like I log on, I buy some ship components. It takes me maybe 2 days to outfit 7 different fighters with like full meted outfit, and then that's it. Like
And that's it.
those ships are good to
it's
go
dead.
for the next 9 months, a year, till the next database wipe. And then I'm just trying to buy dumb stuff like, maybe I'll get a retaliator. Like it's the money means nothing, and that's what we got to get to. We got to get to the point where UEC is something. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can go we can deep dive into that, and I can talk about the model I would see also being a thing in the game, like an option, late when it like closer to release, that the ships actually are getting destroyed, those with LTI,
Mhm.
and you're getting back the money instead of a ship, and it could potentially create a player-driven market even for the ship production. But like to make the LTI work, like as a promise, what basically happens is your LTI insurance, let's say for the Gladius, when your Gladius is destroyed, goes to your insurance book. So whenever you buy another Gladius from another player, not from an NPC, you can apply that insurance to the new Gladius, and it get automatically insured without you paying money. But that's like such a huge calculation has to be done, so it's not possible to abuse it, like insurance fraud it. But yeah, there are a lot of things they can do to keep the promises they gave to the player base.
Are we
Like
all in
majority
agreement
of those
that
promises, and still make it a full player driven like market, even including ships. It's just, will they? That's the question.
are we all in agreement that it's time? Like it's time we do this. Like start eating vegetables in the sense of, do all three of us feel like it's time that you start losing components after death? Like that's the big.
I mean, I'm up for components lost like for years. I miss it since 3.4. I had that fun of, we are controlling Jumpdown because we are earning money. You can either pay us and do the runs yourself. If not, you're dead, and we are making the money to keep up our components, even if we're 30K or die. So other people who don't have money are at disadvantage because they're running stock, right? At least there was some sort of this like gameplay back in the day.
And the thing is too is like I've always said this is like if the only thing that's stopping this game from being like far more enjoyable is the economy. Like it's not a game. It's Star Atlas until Tony Z actually gives us something tangible. Which I don't know. Like, are we already playing Tony Z's economy and it landed 2 years ago, or is it still coming? Because we're not getting any more PowerPoint presentations on it.
The only parts where it's implemented is repair, right? Repair, rearm, and restock. That's the only place where it is affected.
Here's the question, okay? Type 1 in chat if you've even noticed that it's there, right? Like you're not even gonna fucking know. So, like
if you actually,
I didn't even realize it, which is a real bad sign, right? Like,
yeah. So if you pay attention to like the prices when you're just playing normally, like write down the amounts, and then when something like Xenothreat is on, pay attention then to those amounts, and you will see it change. But it only fluctuates by like a tiny amount.
You wouldn't even notice. Like that summarizes for me Tony Z, right? It's like this overly complex economy that leads to nothing. It does not make the game any more enjoyable. Like, it's cool to go on like a PowerPoint presentation and be like, hey, this is so great, look at how all of this works. But then when it gets to your hands, it's like, oh damn, fuel's 10 UEC more a gallon today, I guess. Crazy.
It's the main argument. You are so correct here. It might be an insanely complicated logic inside, right? Yep. And I'm not saying it's working right now. Okay, refueling costs, whatever. It runs on the background, like with a in a testing setup. It doesn't really matter right now. It might work better, but here is the question: like it is extremely, let's say it is extremely complicated logic inside. But the main thing is what the player is getting out of that logic, right?
Yeah.
It's not how complicated it is. It is what is the how does it look to the end user? Does it look shallow or does it look deep enough? Does it look deep enough the player can actually feel they are a part of it when it actually releases? Or it is just a complicated scheme of setting AI prices no one cares about, right? Because everyone has money, or it is super complicated, but here is a website, www.checkstarcitizenprices.gg. You go there and it just takes some sort of an API or players feeded the prices, and you just select, okay, I want to buy this. Tell me where it is. You get the best place to get a certain asset, and you go there and buy it, and that's all your complicated economy. Because
how good
doesn't really matter, right?
And if the percentages they gave, and I've just been quoting these percentages forever, but and this is my understanding of it, so correct me if I'm wrong, but if we're only able to dent 10% of it, then what the hell's the point?
It's like I just try not to.
If we all agree to blockade Grimhex, if all we can dent
on 1,000 shards, right?
On 10,000 shards coordinated effort, and it only has 10% impact because there's magical quanta in the background that is still, hauling cargo to Grimhex, then how is this any more enjoyable for us? So, and that's my problem, right?
It's as enjoyable as Elite Dangerous, dude.
Yeah. It's
where
you want to feel like you're having. You want to feel like you're having an impact on the universe, but you can't have an impact on the universe. Right.
Even if it was fully player driven, right? Then players would be able to make an impact, but you'd still be struggling with the multi-shard multiverse issue.
Yeah. That's
right?
another topic. That's the whole other topic. Yeah, because Star Citizen is far. Star Citizen is far from being a one-shard universe, while they claim it is their final goal. It's their final form, right? We're so far from, but at least if it was player-driven, you can impact it much more. The further we go into the development, right, less shards we're going to have. At least, okay, let's breathe in some copium here, right, guys? Fill up your tanks. All the chat, go get the copium. But at least that's what they're going towards to. So let's say if there is a certain place, especially in a lawless space, right? If we're talking about the trade hub, some sort of JITA 4.4, you will never be able to blockade that anyway, because it's a secure system, right? You will be instantly like ganked by quote unquote Concord, right? So there is no point, like actually you will not be able to blockade it, right? In future, okay? But
which
if
I'm
you're
fine
talking about
with.
which I think every sane person, even if they're PvP oriented, they should be fine with the fact there should be safe harbor for PvE and new players. That is just a must. You cannot it cannot be like lawless everywhere. But if we are talking about more lawless space, right? And you're blockading or owning a certain station, and there's not so many players around it, right? The chances are there will be like 100 shards of that place are minimal. Maybe there's going to be like 1-2 shards, which you can theoretically like blockade with your org and just switch between them. And so, but we have to have that player driven aspect. So the shards is like completely other problem of the game, right? Which you can probably deal with, but the economy stuff is more important than just doing a shard blockade.
Yeah, I've got great concerns for the economy. I want to move on to something that I speak to. It's actually a video that I'm planning on making on YouTube, but I'll run this question by you guys. Given we're going the EVE 2.0 route, right? Like when stations get here or bases get here, which are inevitable, on a scale of 1 to 10, how pissed are you going to be if player stations are getting sold on the store for real money?
Oh, dude. I would actually probably stop playing.
Yeah. Salty Mike said he'd quit. He'd be like, "No, that's fucking it." Like, because we haven't talked about that, right? Like, at state, we all know stations are coming. I mean, they talk about it themselves. These bases are coming, but if they come with like $1,000 price tags, if you can buy these things at all on the store, I'm gonna be livid. Like, because the economy's so poor, and like, a lot of what we're all trying to do, right, is like we want org goals, like you guys want to be pirating towards building a pirating base, like you want to be, like Test wants to, use all their numbers to put together a mega
auroras.
Station. Yeah, all the auroras to make a mega station, right? Like, so if
that's a good question.
If this just comes, because like imagine, I don't want to be mean, but like, the gamer dads, of Star Citizen, the big backers who just play by themselves, but they've got a fleet that could hold 10,000 players. Like the guys that link their fleet and they've got $20,000 worth of stuff. They're going to they're going to buy a station, no one's going to go inside of it. And it's just going to be sitting in some system in the middle of nowhere. Like it's
that's the question. So the main question here, it's not about buying the station with real money, right? It's about what can you do as a third party with that station and what happens to it if it gets destroyed.
Yeah. And that's the problem too.
That's the main question, because if it's going to get obliterated and he never gets that station back upon release, well, GG $1,000.
I could be hilarious.
I'm not against it. If I can destroy the station for $1,000, right? I'll definitely do it, right?
But the problem is because they would sell it, it would corrupt its purpose. If you can buy this thing with UEC, then it's free game. Delete it when it's destroyed because you didn't pay them money. But if you bought this thing for $10,000, then CIG are going to be like, okay, we're selling this thing for $10,000, but you can attack it. Well, we can't just set $10,000 on fire. Well,
attack it.
No, my problem is
it's
that
just a big L.
Yeah, huge L. But my only issue is if they want to sell it, it corrupts how relentless they can be with it, and it needs to be relentless. You need to be able to destroy stations. Like that's the most important recyclable loop in the game, in my opinion. And
again, it depends on how they sell it, what conditions.
Yeah, but my worry,
if they say no LTI, it gets destroyed. GG to your money. If they sell it like that, I'm fine with it. It's whatever.
But the problem is
I'm fine with it, but I can live with it. I can live with it, right?
but I don't think they will. I think if they're
Yeah.
gonna sell it, then it's gonna come with some cheesy buyback system or some like insurance, like some reclaim feature. But if you earn it in game, then they can be like, hey, too bad, so sad. You didn't pay us real money for this. This was you playing the game. So I just worry that
if the rebuy feature will be almost as much as they buy it in game AUC price, then I don't know. It's a very, very theoretical question.
And my only worry, but my concern is we need to start thinking about it. It's time to start, because that's coming. With engineering, because that's what they talked about in ISC, right? Like engineering for capital ships is coming. And it's going to lead into stations and player bases. If that's here, then it's time to get ahead of this ball, because I'm telling you right now that marketing is probably setting up the web pages, and they're probably discussing what the price is going to be. So go ahead.
Someone says in chat, why don't sell the blueprint to build a base? That's a good call.
Yeah, that's fine.
I
think
everything should have
been like that. Everything should have been. Go ahead, Noodle. Go ahead.
When I bought into Star Citizen, I bought into the promise of not having the typical publisher bullshit that we were getting. And even the idea of them selling blueprints to me is the typical Ubisoft or EA bullshit that they sell on their stores. Like, I want to move. I get it that CIG need to make money. That's fine. I would rather pay a monthly subscription than have this type of bullshit. Have a IRL money marketplace where you're buying stations or buying blueprints for stations or buying blueprints for, like, an example of a game that does that, right, is Warframe. And don't get me wrong, Warframe is a fun game, but it's free to play, and that is the kind of negative to or that's the acceptance of playing a free to play game, right? Well, I bought into Star Citizen.
Yeah.
And again, I get that they need to make money, but that's, for me, I hope that's not the route that they take.
Yeah, it's over the line. It's got to stop at ships. It can't, like, maybe you buy the land plot or the space, in which you're going to build it on. Like there's a lot of push and pull there, but it cannot be cut and dry.
Like they did with the land plots, like ground, whatever they did on the ground,
that went
right?
super well.
They already did that.
Think about it too, right? It's like with like, have any of you played Last Oasis?
No,
I've watched you play it.
Oh my god! I tell you what, we talk about this in Discord all the time. Last Oasis, it was the best month I've ever had on the internet. Like, it was the most fun thing, and that game is so dead now. You can't get 5 viewers on the category. But what was neat, and what I'm getting at with this, was that bases were moving. So instead of having a station, you had this cat is being really annoying. Instead of having a station, you had a base, you had a ship, and the ship was your moving base. And maybe that's the direction Star Citizen's going, is instead of us owning stations, maybe we're going to be owning capital ships, and that'll be your moving station, right?
Well, that's what they said with the Bengal back in the day.
Yeah. So, like, maybe that's the direction this goes. But again, like, how cheesy is it going to be if I, or say, like, we kill a test javelin, big deal, and it sets them back a 48-hour reclaim. Like, it's.
I mean, it's definitely not going to be 40-hour reclaim, but I understand what you mean.
Yeah, and that's my concern, is I think that this territory gameplay, I think it needs to be brutal, like really brutal.
100%.
Otherwise, and if it's corrupted by USD, as in real life money, then it's just dorky, because we already have an issue where some people have $50,000 worth of ships and they have 0 players to fly them, and they're bragging about it. It's like, dude, you shouldn't even be able to get this thing off the ground with 1 player, like it. So I have concerns for that, and I think we're a lot closer to this than we think. I think that stations, bases, capital ships aren't far away. I really don't. Especially with them talking about engineering all the time. Dude, my cat is attacking me. But now I wanted to move on to something because we're actually a bit over time here. Well, not really, but I wanted to get to the next topics. So the next two topics is the fights you got into, Cutlet. But here, look, I have an issue with you, Cutlet. Okay, I talked to you and you said to me that you were in RAM. I look up your character, you're not in RAM. So what's the deal? Because I tried to put the RAM logo on your thing, and then I look up your character and you weren't even in it. So what capacity?
I'm still like on website. I'm still on this in the Golden Eggplant Society.
Yeah. So you're
I'm officially in RAM like since some time. Yeah.
Oh, because I always knew that you were close with that clique, but that group. But I didn't.
It was the most like after like before the war started. Like I played a lot with Jace, with Mortars.
Yeah.
Who
are hilarious, by the way.
I didn't even know.
I love those guys. I said, who are hilarious, by the way. I love those
cool.
guys.
Yeah. And I didn't even know what like existence of RAM like as an org for quite some time while it existed already.
Yep.
And when I started, when I got back to Star Citizen after I settled in Berlin, right? I continued playing with them a lot. I've played with Tumblr a lot, and Tumblr was one of the dudes who actually completely understood the concept of piracy, not just PvP.
Yep.
And I was surprised how good he understood it in terms of like what skills are required and what patience is required. Because Jace, as a friendliest player, he got hooked at some point to like just arena commander fighting, and he does this much less now, like the actual piracy.
Yep.
But I mean, people move on, right? They change what they like to do in the game. It's fine. But it was just the fact that the RAM as a group was like very open, and I could just hop into their Discord. Like I saw they were always there, right? No one was sitting in the hidden channels whatsoever. They were there. I will just jump in and play along with them, right? And it went on for months, like without anything. And then like different things. Then I saw how the game develops.
Yeah.
And I've seen more and more stuff going on in the PU. People like grouping up. It's more and more you meet like opposition to whatever you do.
Yep.
And when there is like a beef going in PU, you want to be able to not just ask your friends for some help when you're getting outnumbered and outskilled, right?
Yep.
You want to have like this authority of being an org member to just make an at org name in Discord and
ping
this and that. Gather up, right? It's not like please gather up. I'm getting like I'm getting outnumbered and outskilled. Like just gather the fuck up right now because we have stuff to shoot, right? So at some point I just made a decision, and considering I've been playing with them for a while, as I said, they're always there. I just joined.
And I just said joined. This.
So you shouldn't like consider like actually RAM being a thing. It's they're now playing on this cycle, and and crab champions. Just forget about that org in reality. It no longer exists. But that's funny. That's how it happened.
I mean, it's the same with us. Like we play like Elden Ring and Tarkov almost more so. But yeah, like it's just I thought it would, and I've talked to you about this off stream. It's you and me have spoken about this, and me and Noodle also, and this is kind of why I actually got you guys on here, is because it feels like we're at a turning point where we've had this conversation where orgs were never like if you had an org, you were role playing. You never had a purpose for it.
Yeah.
And it finally starts to feel like now you got to get into it. You know, like now you have to start laying the groundwork because a lot of these orgs are laying the groundwork already. You know, like we've notoriously been doing it for 4 years, right? But you know, now a lot of the other orgs are starting to get their shit together. You know, and
Yeah, and
That is true.
what's really disappointing to me though is that after all these years, we still don't have Orgs 2.0 after we were told it was coming soon in 2014 or 2015, something like that. You know,
I
I
swear-
really want to see more tools for Orgs.
I swear,
In-game.
it's funny, we've like created Eve 2.0 like on our Discord. Sorry, not Eve 2.0, like Orgs 2.0 on our Discord with like Discord bots and stuff, like player lookups and all that kind of jazz. Like, but yeah, like it needs that more than ever. But it also needs more reason, right? Like we're starting to get to the point where they're trying to create more and more group activities, which inherently is going to create more orgs. But it's good to know that, or it's good to see that there's actual real need for organizations lately. And a lot of,
I would say, yeah, go ahead.
a lot of the gameplay, you know, that is strictly around orgs, like orgs' relationships with each other, rivalries and stuff, is actually really starting to take shape, you know, and it usually comes in the form of drama. You know, I'd know that more than most, but like, you know, orgs and people are starting to pick a side. And for me, when I knew, like, and as soon as I heard about the fights you got into, which we'll cover soon, but like as soon as I heard that, I was like, fuck yeah, you know, like Cutlet's getting in the mud now. Like he's picked a side. This is awesome. And I think that symbolized for me. I was like, man, it's starting to come together, because Cutlet, I've always known you as being the Eve guy who's very calculated, you know, and doesn't just do something for the sake of it. So if I see you commit to a team, then it's like, okay, you know, like one of the guys who, you know, really, you know, takes this game seriously and doesn't sugarcoat it, sees a necessity to pick a side. To your
That is very true. That is very true.
And the thing is too, is to pick a side is to hurt you in a way too, right? Like if you join, you know, for example, Shadow Moses, it closes doors. You know, like you join AVS, you know, any of these big orgs, RAM or something, it usually opens you up to a lot of stuff, but it closes some doors too. So
the fact that the doors, because obviously majority of those orgs require commitment. In one way or another, they require exclusivity, right?
Yep.
And that was one of the reasons why I never did that. I wanted community to develop more before I do it. And I'm quite still in the same mood that I don't really see a big necessity for the orgs. For the majority of the community, but I feel like my scenario where I do, when all of my content revolves around PvP and messing with other people, right? And content, not like a content creator, content for myself as a gameplay, right? It revolves around messing with other people, and I've seen the growth of the amount. I've noticed the change in the ratio of encounters between helpless encounters and resistance encounters, where people have opposition, and it's not that easy. And I just decided that for me personally, it's probably right about time to do something with this. So yeah, I just did that. I think, yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, and I still think that for the majority of the community who are not that PvP intensive, it doesn't really matter. Any other activity, it doesn't really matter for now.
I would counter that with, I'm not too sure, because like you look at med runners, you know, like that's an org that has a real function. They got more purpose than I do, you know. Yeah, like
that's not the majority. That's what I'm saying. That is an opposite side, but the same example. There is like a more of a unique thing going with them. It's like half RP, half gameplay stuff, and they are very niche and have a like real purpose. That's why they
Yeah.
need that. And
And I think
also
that
don't use these Medrunner services. Please use the flatliners. Okay.
the flatliners. So like I don't know what you're talking about there. I'm sure there's a backstory, but
You
like
will. You will someday.
well, I'm never gonna use a medical beacon. But so anyways, like yeah, I think that I mean look at Mike's org, right? Like even Mike has got his org off the ground, and you know they've got a weapon selling business, you know, armor and
I cannot
weapons.
wait until you, Virgil, just consume Mike and his org.
No comment.
I just cannot wait for that moment. Yeah.
I'm definitely going to be relying on him for business. I already am planning to. But yeah, like you know, he's got his org, you know, and they're starting to get some, you know, some real like trade deals rolling. You know, there's Mongrel Squad has really, you know, I don't know how to even put it, come together, I guess. You know, like they're, you know, I don't want to say Premier Pirates because I don't know, maybe you'd like to call yourself that, I don't know, but like they've got a real thing going on where, you know, they really function as an org, you know, and then again, Med Runners, you know, Mike's org, Galog, I think they're quiet now, but there's definitely a need for logistics orgs.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and instead before it was like test, you know, like I think to get into test, you have to put like a funny joke and then you hit the apply. Then boom. Yeah. It's a 20,000 man org that does like nothing. At least I shouldn't say that because I fought them at Jumpdown.
I think if they all log in, they will crash the AG servers. Actually, that's what they can do.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the literal point of test was nothing more than to grow the ego of the people who run tests. I know people in test. I don't mean that as any disrespect to those people, but it's the Space Dad thing, right?
And it's turned into
I will not comment on Test Squadron because one of their members helped my family when the war started so much. I'm not doing a single bad comment about the Test Squadron. That's it.
You can absolutely say something bad about Test without offending, hopefully, an individual in their org.
But my point being, right, like I saw them, and to be fair, I've fought them at Jumpdown, so like, and they were like 70 deep, so like they're clearly doing something, but it was always just a community, right? Like it was never a like at least my understanding, hard to know, I've never been in there, but like a lot of these larger, huge orgs were just a community. It was just a tag. It never did anything. But now it feels like there's purpose. You do want to go over to Jumpdown and take 40 guys and secure it in all different aspects, you know, like,
and there's so many different gameplay for those people. There's like ground aspect, like anti-air aspect, like ballistas, whatever, like bombers. It's getting there slowly. Yeah, it's super unbalanced. A lot of stuff is super unbalanced, but there are much more than just flying light fighters now. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
And it feels like the player base is taking shape. Right, like you know, in EE, if you've got like Test Alliance, you've got Goon Swarm, you know, all these, you know, big Titan groups, you know, like the landscape.
You've got Band of Brothers. Oh wait,
yeah. But you have groups, you know, and I think Star Citizen's getting there. I think like you've got the PvP groups like AVS, RAM, you know. Mongrel Squad, you know, our guys. You've got all these big groups, you know, Shadow Moses, all that stuff. And it feels like people are, you know, spreading out into these different groups, and you're starting to see, you know, what the future landscape's going to look like, you know.
I do think now is the time for CIG to start putting some effort in, right, in terms of org tools.
And grouping systems too. Like, you know, like the mission beacons that can bring, you know, trading missions together and stuff, you know, as many group building and group helping mechanics as possible, especially in the
I think I want to like put in my 2 cents here because I was trying to get to it, but considering how long I talk, I want to double down on what Noodle said multiple times already on this topic. The fact that there is no org 2.0 is crazy at this point.
Yeah.
And it goes into all the UI issues that we have in the game and even the chat and all that. But I think one of the most important things that CAG should implement sooner than later is org standings and ability to identify those standings in game from your UI.
I know there's a French org, like a lot of the French orgs have like standings, themselves. And it's not an in-game thing; they do it out of game. But yeah, like
it's crazy to me that I have to go to Discord to do it. Right?
Yeah.
Like it's so stupid.
It's crazy. I have like split of a second to make a decision: should I attack someone or not? Right?
Yeah.
Split of a second. If that's gone, that's it. The opportunity I lost. They're either quantum away or they're getting advantage already in combat on me. You cannot like go somewhere and check there. There has to be like, at least make it like CG should make it simple. Someone has a primary org for now, right? Because we have this multiple org BS that goes on the spectrum, but majority of people have their primary org, and that's what should count for standings, right? And then don't do it in game, do it on like spectrum interface. An org leader can set standings to other orgs, and then in game the client just connects to the server and gets the data, and whenever it's a plus or minus or neutral, it is represented by a symbol, like, so let's say near the chevron. That's it. Like, at least do that.
Yeah. Like, and that's the thing too, is like, I'm in the early stages of getting like a logistics arm together, because I'm starting to see the necessity for it. And it's like, that the problem is I want people to know, like, oh, you're holding up, this ship of ours or this guy of ours. Well, yeah, he's trading, but he's one of ours, and people should know, like, if you pirate this guy, 20 dudes are going to hot drop in real quick. Like, and that's the problem too, right? Is like you mentioned, you can't,
I cannot
you
remember
don't know who
names.
you're messing with.
I remember your name. I remember like org leader names, maybe.
Yeah.
And few like people I talk to,
no
but I
idea
cannot hold like hundreds
anymore.
of names in my head, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's the same, like, no, I PvP, I'm like constantly alt tabbing and checking what org they're in, and like, this guy's started but if it did that in game, it'd be 10x easier. So.
Yeah, I do it too whenever I have the opportunity, or I will ask my turret gunner to check on someone, right? Right in the middle of combat, let's say. But it's just no, it's wrong. It's wrong.
Now moving on from the people starting to build up orgs and stuff. Talk to me, Cutlet, okay? Because one thing I fucking love, okay, is when, and Noodle can attest to this, having played a lot with me in the past, one thing that really gets me going, okay, gets my nipples hard, is org versus org stuff. And I remember I was in voice, and one of my guys, Villet, goes, yo, there's a big fight going down with Ram and Avengers guys. I went, fuck off, no way. I was like, there's no way that's going on. And then I got linked, I think it was your stream, and then like people showed me like the numbers and stuff. I was like, oh man, these guys are going head to head. This is great, because the problem is, and Noodle could attest to this, where if there's ever been org fights, it's usually just fucking us and someone else. Like, we've always been the guys that had to, like, push someone or bully people into like PvPing against us. So to find out that, other groups, other big, successful PvP groups are fighting each other, some of the Titan groups, is just such good news. And that's honestly, it's why, like, and Snakey in the chat can attest to this. That's why I made this podcast. It was to cover like the community stuff in game, like, like Eve. So two orgs start going head to head. I want to know about it. So talk to me about it. What happened? What's happening? Let me know.
Okay. Let's
for what you're for whatever's not OPSEC, okay? Like, for what you are.
I don't want to get into that too deep, because that's a lot of like private. I wouldn't say private stuff, but it's like making this drama going even more. Yeah. Basically, like, basically, I'm kind of done closing my eyes on some stuff. Yeah. That other quote unquote content creators do. Yeah. Like, I've been in this game for long, and I've known Avenger for long, and before he was Avenger 1. And it happened to multiple communities I played with. It's happened to my old community, and now it's happening to RAM. Like, when communities are getting called out on just because they don't follow a certain agenda, how another person sees it, right? Either it's like the way they play, the way they do the combat, or whatsoever. As I always say, don't blame the players, blame the game.
Yeah.
On top of that, I'm pretty sure I know how those people play, and a lot of claims are just wrong, literally unfair. And considering like that is being pushed over the time to an audience, not just inside of their own org, but to an audience, because people watch the dude. I just stopped being silent, and I just started like little trolling things in F12 whenever I meted him, and that probably upset him. He created a video on me doing when I was in a Akari Blue, and when they jumped with the snub fighters, which is, by the way, like it's funny how a person would like say this wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, but then will go into the most broken wrong thing.
It's about. Listen, like, I mean, I'm not like a huge fan of like Ram, right? Like, but I'm not a fan of fucking anyone, so that's whatever. But yeah, I would agree with that too. Like if I'm but again, I guess it depends on the conditions of what's going on. Like, I would never want to fight cartwals. I would never like cartwals. For me, are just like, as soon as someone brings cartwals to the field, it's like, oh, okay, you don't want to PvP then. And it would be the same with snub fighters, so I can relate to that.
Yeah. Anyway, let's cut it short. It all started, not all started, but it escalated into that event and him creating a video about like how good the snub fighters are, and making me as an example of getting shot down. And actually, he didn't probably realize half of their team was invisible to us because of the invisibility bug.
Yeah.
And then the similar fight happened again, and they lost a lot of people, but that obviously didn't go to the video. And then there was an Alta 4 video everyone knows about, and he again did this. He said, like, we're stream sniping. Like, how can you claim stream sniping when you have a crime stat?
Well, here's in their defense.
Let me just finish this. Finish this, because I don't want to be like going over and over it again.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And then it was like an engagement in PU. There was a fight again, and there was I warped out because I was getting beaten up. His teammate joined on me, and I was getting beaten up in my cutty, so I warped out, and there was like caps like, oh lol, warped out, GG. So I just said, at least I didn't Alta 4, right?
Yeah.
And that happened after he did it, and basically he came into my chat and in Twitch.
Yeah.
And tried to hold me with the phrases like, I've supported you, like I've even donated money to your fundraiser when the war happened. And I was like, yo, dude, don't hold me. If you ever try to support me, don't ever hold me for that. And that was the end of my relationship with him. I asked him to send me like PayPal receipts so I can pay him back, but he just blocked me. Yeah, and I will end it on this. There was a lot of talk. There was some talk between me and him, but I don't want to get into that.
But my only question would be...
Sorry, not to be the white knight here. I did quite nasty videos. Like, I don't want to be like the white knight here, right? I did quite nasty videos as a react on his content. Because I legitimately, I said, I kind of... in them, I said what I thought, right? And then it was quite open and straightforward, because I'm a straightforward guy, right? So I played my part to piss him off too, obviously.
Yeah. So
but the moment you break this thing and you go into like holding me for the financial support during war, that's over. That's just over. I'm done.
Keep in-game shit in-game.
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, I can get it. Oh fuck, his noodles am frozen. Oh.
Yeah, no, frozen.
Oh, there we go. No, okay, we got it. Okay, sorry, but yeah, no. Anyways, and I get it. Look, and there's two sides to a story. Like, I'm sure
he has his side. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that I'm sure you guys were sniping him in the past, right? Like, and I'm not on anyone's side here, really. I don't even know the whole story.
You just
but,
need the content for your podcast,
but
I understand.
no, well, like for me, it's not about like those specifics. For me, I think that two orgs that don't like each other is a fucking really good thing. Like rivalries are what make Eve keep the lights on. You know,
Keep going
if
for
there
years.
if there weren't war mechanics, Eve wouldn't be a 2-decade long, PvP MMO. So when an org has a rivalry with an org, it's not up to the line members or the average pilots, the normal pilot, whatever. Sorry, not you get it, the pilots, but it's not up to them to buy into the drama, right? Like, or to buy into the personal stuff. But I don't think that we should be shy and be like, oh, it's this is all just riddled with drama. No, fuck that. Like, this is like it's. I don't think it's got to the point where either of your orgs are calling it a war. But this is fucking good for the game, guys. Like, this is healthy. We want to see more orgs fighting each other. We want to see videos from your guys' perspective, and their perspective. I wish we had fucking killboard, so you could actually measure.
I wish
the performance.
The killboard would actually an in-game feature. That would be nice.
But I think that org rivalries are really good for the game because
good.
It's the thing is, it might not be great for Avenger and or Aiko or whoever might be involved on a more personal level, but it's so good for the people like Max and Chase and Mad Sky, and Shuang, and all these dudes are really cool guys, but to see
it just shouldn't be personal.
To be able to exactly, and to be able to log on to fight each other, to have a reason to log in and a reason to train is really good, and I think that the most fortunate people in the conflict anyway is the soldiers who just get the PvP'd out. It's shitty that the PvPs of a low quality because of where we're at development wise, but yeah, I'm glad that this is happening, and for once I'm glad that it's it's not fucking just us, because I think we're probably the only org that has had a rivalry with every org that's up there right now, and to see one of you guys having one organically is just the coolest thing ever. And I hope you create more content out of it. I hope they create more content out of it. I hope it doesn't just fucking die, although it probably probably will.
It's just something I want to add up. And it touches the previous topic we discussed, right?
Yep.
Actually, all the attention to that specific scenario of AVS versus RAM, if we put it aside, that's the reason why I officially joined RAM, because a lot of this shit started happening now with the orgs you don't even know the names of.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they're not that good. A lot of people aren't, but they're trying to get the org combat going. Yep. You would just jump on a target and then boom, there are 5 people on top of you. Yep. And when you're one in a Akari Blue, even 5 not super good pilots, they're getting your ass smacked. I mean, you probably can run away and retreat, but the fact is that, that's going to happen. So that is those two things, the previous topic and this one, then combine in the fact that this stuff starts to move. The train slowly start to rotate its wheels, and it's good.
Yeah, and the thing is too is when an org has fights like this, it does good things for the org, man. It brings guys together. It advertises to both these orgs hey, although again I don't think you guys are calling it this, but if players see this org is at war with this org, you know what they want to do? They want to go fucking sign up, so it's I just think it's a good thing. I want this podcast to be where we cover the org politics and the status of rivalries and stuff like that, because that's where the juicy content is on the Eve side, is the story that's being driven on the player community, probably not down to the specific individuals, but orgs fighting over territory and stuff like this. And in this case, reputation, I guess, is kind of what's stoking the war or the rivalry between your two orgs. I know it's both sides have probably, got their reasons, and they're probably very
100%,
legitimate
yeah.
reasons. Now, the fights that did happen, so you guys just fought 2 times? Like, how did those go? I know one went on stream,
yeah,
but
if we remove all like the emotions from it, there was, man, my memory, dude. I just don't want to like say something.
I know
stupid
you were.
because
One thing I'll say
and
too.
yeah, chat correct me if I will be wrong, right? So from these things, we had this fight first when I was in a Cutty Blue and I got destroyed.
Noodle, just quickly, Noodle, could you imagine if one of our guys was in a Cutty Blue and a fight, dude? I'd be fucking screaming.
Dude, the Cutty Blue
I can't
is so
believe
much fun
I can't
now.
believe they let you get away with that. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. But keep going. Sorry, I just thought it's
what
funny.
do you mean get away with it? Get away with it? What do you mean?
Like, I remember we used to have a guy who flew a Saber in PvP, and like I was screaming at this guy. I was like, "How fucking could you, dude? Like, we're trying to fucking win over
Times
here."
have changed a lot.
Wait,
though,
you
right?
mean that Ram let me get away with a Cutty Blue?
Yeah, let you bring a Cutty
Dude.
Blue to a orc fight. Yeah.
I first of all, I was like bounty hunted. They came for my bounty. It wasn't like an orc fight. Second of all, I don't think you understand like the reality of a Cutty Blue potential right now.
Yeah,
It's one of the highest top speeds in the game. It outruns every fighter, like in a straight line.
Does Aiko buy this?
It has an VTOL acceleration of 32 Gs, and it's one of the ships that can actually secure a target before it warps away. It can...
Bro, you're huffing, dude.
Sorry, what?
No, keep going. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, so the main problem why like I got destroyed because majority of our team couldn't see the targets. They were like in this bug. Again, I would never blame
sucks, man.
Yeah, I would never blame that issue on them because they never knew.
Yeah, and
right?
it was probably vice versa, right? Like
I'm not
you
trying
probably
to
had
blame it.
You probably had a couple invisible too. Yeah, I feel for you guys with that.
It's like whatever happened there. So, and I was like, just no one could protect me, right? That like, at least like a lot of members could not protect me. That was the thing.
Yeah.
Then that thing happened. It wasn't even a fight when the clip where there was an Alta 4, right? So it was the opposite. Like they had a bounty and our guys jumped on. And then the third thing happened somewhat recently where everyone saw everyone, and I was in a Cutty Blue again. And there was like, and they were like, a lot of them were in the snubs and racing ships.
Yeah.
We were Cutty Blues, like whatever, blades, gladiuses, arrows. I don't remember the setup exactly. And we came out kind of victorious there, if you can say so. Like Tumblr had a one-on-one before the group fight happened. He lost it to one of the AVS members. Afterwards, there was one ram. Vaction rammed into actually Avenger 1. So they both died.
Splash.
Then on our side, there was another loss of Bluesman warping. He's not part of Ram, but he was like technically part of the team. He warped in a bad location. He didn't have comms. They killed him. And then A1 came back. He died again. He was in a blade at that time. And a few other guys from AVS died. I don't remember exact number count there. And it was kind of fun. It was actually like intense. I liked it. But at that point, I never died in a Cutty Blue. Talking of Cutty Blue,
which is fucking crazy. By the way,
yeah, because dude.
Wait, like, did you do the like VTOL? See you later.
Yeah. I fight. Dude, like I train a lot of like that. I constantly fly that ship. That is like my main ship. I kind of know how it handles. So I've got like 4 or 3 times I got out of the fight full red. I had 0 engines on me. Like both engines were destroyed, and all my hull was red. And I warped out, and then repaired, came back into the fight. And that is the problem of that setup. they have, like, they cannot afford themselves a QED to commit to a target that they don't work. Because if they will have a Mantis and that light setup, the Mantis will just die.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be soloed out because, like, it's just gonna die. Or at least chased away, right? Or at least chased away. They don't have the beef to protect it and any QED ship.
Yeah. And Schwanksy is saying that they picked the small ships because it was easier to get away from missiles because flaring was bugged. I do remember flaring being a bit funny. But I also think too, though, right? Other ships have missile loadouts
it's
too.
what A1 said in the video.
Was both? You said both two fights happened. Were they both in?
I would say they picked it up to specifically chase the Cuddy Blue. That's what I think, but we will remain at our, like, I respect that opinion. That is also true. So
yeah. My question was this second. You said you've had multiple fights with them, like org to org. Were they all in snubs? Like both occasions?
These two fights, guys, AVS guys, were mostly in small ships. Yes. This fight, when I died,
but by small ships, I'm talking like smaller than the Arrow.
I mean snubs and racing ships. Yeah. Snubs and racing ships. When A1 came back, he was in a blade.
But this is on two different occasions, is it?
This is on two different occasions. Yes.
Yeah.
One with a video and one afterwards. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. See, and. I'd rather be. I'd be more pro missiles than pro racing ships, and already broken combat.
The thing with the snubs are the hit reg is so broken on them because their cross section is so small. A turret isn't able to properly land hits at like 200-300 meters when the ship is like 200-300 meters. If they're doing like any kind of like pip movement. Turret already misses, and you have to understand, turret is a thing that is 100% on pip. Yep. It's just
Yeah, the turrets are crazy good, crazy good.
I will never blame anyone using any tactics on PU. Here's the thing, like I have a bit of a different approach to it. I've never I don't want to complain they were using the ships.
But I think it goes both ways, right? I think like missiles. I don't think that missiles can be flared off, right? And I don't think that we're all supposed to be
missiles can be dodged in most cases.
Like this guy launched missiles, so now we're gonna escalate to fucking snubs. Like I don't know if I would be behind that decision either, because. Man, sometimes missiles are the only thing that even close out a fight. Like sometimes, I remember we fought I think it was maybe Ram one day. It was like a 3-hour fight. I think 4 people died in 3 hours, and that was on both teams. Like only 4 people died. Pretty sure half of it was missiles. So my only point being, I don't think that the second you launch your missiles, it's like, oh, those guys are fighting dirty. You gotta. That people need to. The game can't just be arrows and gladiuses dogfighting. It's got to be fucking more than that. Okay, and if you don't like missiles, because they're broken, okay, but you can't complain about it because it's the game you purchased as well.
It's it is what it is. So that's why I never complain someone is running snobs or whatever. It's you want to do it to win? Yeah, do it. I use VTOLs on Cuddy, I use QD, I use turrets. You just cannot complain. But and that's my main standpoint. I usually will not complain unless it's an actual exploit someone uses, right?
But I'll tell you what, if
it's I would go and say, hey, when you fight against my Cuddy Blue, can you please not retreat from me when you want to regen shields? It's the same thing.
It's got I mean, if we're to look at all of it, right, I think that the 3 problems are, snub fighters are, it's just the games can't even compute that fast, right? So I get that. I would, if I was fighting a group and they hopped in snubs, I'd be like, all right, I'm out of here. There's no point. Yeah. And then the second thing too is cartels. It's the same thing. If an org's all in cartels, I'm just all right, Because what does a car to wall symbolize? It symbolizes you want to go twice the acceleration of every other ship, and you want to leave as much as you want to catch people. And if you're using it just to catch people, okay, that's good. But like if you're also using it to disengage, it means that you have zero interest in the fight reading a conclusion. You just want to keep it going forever when nobody dies. So it's like, for me, a car to wall is a escalation to cheese too. It's just like, if I'm finding a group and they're in car to walls, for me it's like, you may as well be waving the white flag. You know, like, it's a surrender in my opinion. And I'm not gonna lie, man, I'd probably see the same thing from stump fighters, because they're so, like, the game can't even catch up, like, barely in the PU with arrows, let alone snubs. So I get that, but I could also understand, you know, some orgs have different cultures when it comes to missiles. I'm pro missile, to be honest. Like, I think all these ships that are, you know, 4 missiles need to have their fucking day in the sun, and, you know, if missiles are strong one patch, then so be it. You know, like, let it happen. I know it's like an easier gameplay loop, but other people, this game's got to be This game has to be accessible to more than just the guys going into Arena Commander and dogfighting in an Arrow and Gladius, right? It needs to have, you know, other people that can play it. And if I could get my dad in a missile boat in the future, I'd love to do it.
Yeah, so, true.
You know,
well, at least with a car to wall, my turret can hit it. It actually register hits, and it can chase it off from your ship.
Yeah,
you know. It registers hits on it, and a lot of things with car to wall and all that stuff goes into the org training of like properly merging at a person at one time and like unleashing the firepower before he can even react to it. Like, that's a lot of things that a lot of goes into that. So but yeah, again, I have a different standpoint. If it's not exploit, like actual exploit, I will not complain too much about this or that, because I will be hypocritical in the first place if I do. Yeah. Right. Like, then you can go into this, oh, don't use that. Oh, like going for a shield regen is cheese. Oh, doing this is cheese. Oh, corkscrewing is cheese.
It never ends. Yeah, you're right.
It never ends. And you catch yourself up into the scenario where you are promoting a certain agenda of fighting, but whenever it doesn't fit you, everyone else around you is bad. So I prefer not to do it. Yep. I prefer to blame the game, fix the game.
It's the same with like ballistas, right? Like ballistas drive me fucking crazy. Like, they used to drive me absolutely crazy. Every time I'd go to Jumpdown, I'd be like, all right, guys, flip the coin. Boom, no, I'm dead. All right, you guys handle the rest of the fight. Like, every time ballistas were tearing me apart. But at the end of the day...
then again, you know why? Because you didn't bother bringing people on foot with railguns.
Exactly. No, exactly. And then if you, like... shout out to my YouTube channel, but like, we started to drop like tanks. Okay, we used to start to drop tanks in. We'd have our tanks roll in like 5 minutes before, and they'd be like, "All right, guys, we're close," and then we'd start jumping in. You know, as our tanks arrived.
So, hey, how are you doing, dude?
Sorry, I'm talking to chat. You guys carry on. All right.
We'll bring Noodle into a second, but like, yeah, I agree. And you know, if easy to play. God, I've already forgot. Ballistas bring test out to PvP. If it gets Morphologist to get his org out because they stand a chance, you know, if it gets these other orgs that are huge in numbers but aren't, you know, dogfighting an AC every day, if it gets them onto the battlefield, then fuck it. Let us take a beating. Like, I'm okay to die to a ballista a bunch of times. I'm okay to die to missiles a bunch of times if it means I'm fighting 5x more.
If you have like actual action going, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like,
true.
let these guys extract some sort of victory. You know, like, and
then again, you twitch the ballistas one notch down, and they're useless, right?
Yeah.
So.
And I think they're already there, aren't they? Like, I think that the EMs might have got nerfed. I haven't looked at them this patch, but I'm under the assumption.
You can get some good kills. You can get some good kills. But again, that's the thing. It has a purpose. Is it OP? Yes. Should it be OP? At least for now, probably yes, because otherwise that makes no sense. That vehicle makes no sense.
It's like turrets.
Let it be OP. There are ways to fight with it, right?
Like,
go use the landscape. Don't get like a missile shot. get your troops on the ground, destroy with tanks, like railguns whatsoever. There are ways to counter that. It's not like a God-sent thing that will destroy everything.
It's like turrets on ships, right? Like that's a good example. Turrets on ships have been dog shit for like as long as I remember. And then they buffed them, and they're super meta now. Now, how else are you going to get people to multi-crew anyone else's ship unless turret's powerful? And I remember they did a patch, it was 3 patches ago, and they nerfed turrets. They made the speed at which they can move really slow, and they added like weight to it, and it made them almost redundant. And I remember Golo like hounding me. He's like, "Brother, we gotta start protesting this as loud as we can. It's going to kill turret gameplay." And Golo's the flight guy, right? Like you wouldn't think Golo would be supporting turret gameplay. Exactly.
He probably understands, right?
And we were screaming at Spectrum, like, "What are you doing? You know, you finally had turrets like viable. They were finally good. Why are you killing this? Like, this is, 20% of the PvP community has come in here through turret gameplay. You're about to kick them all out if you nerf it like this." And, I think that turrets are going to be far more viable with master modes. I don't want to talk about master modes today, but I think that, they can nerf them a bit and viable.
If they will be too OP, they might reduce the circle. What I've heard, there are rumors that turrets going to be even more powerful. They will have the specific buffs to guns, like their projectile speed is going to be multiplied, but then probably they might nerf the aimbot circle. We will see, but it's good they're there because let's see. I have Kowalski almost constantly in my turret, right? When I fly Cutty Blue, am I invincible? No, I'm not.
No, you're not.
I'm not. There's so many ways to work around that. So many ways.
But
Same
it needs to be
Scorpiuses.
In my opinion, it needs to be where it's at. The turrets need to be OP. By what scale, they can't be ridiculous, but they need to be overpowered because there's no way. How are they ever going to, avoid people bringing two? Yeah, exactly. Bringing two Gladiuses instead of a Hurricane. So
100%,
I think
100%.
the turret, if you ask me, what the flight guys have done since they built that team, the turret's the biggest success. That's the biggest thing, the most useful thing they've done. And
it's one of the biggest things.
Noodle, to bring Noodle back into this. Sorry, Noodle.
Sorry.
You can remember. You remember back in the day. You brought a Hammerhead to Jumpdown. You were fucking role playing. You brought anyone hopping in a turret, you're like, "Oh yeah, that's useless, dude. Don't worry about it." So
I just use it to ram people, dude.
Dude, I remember
back in 3 point. Okay,
go ahead.
Let Noodle talk. No, let Noodle talk. I'm talking so much, dude.
No, it's all good. I'm fine.
I remember back in the day, showing up and you were in a Hurricane Cutlet, and this is in 3.4.
Yeah, dude, that's what I wanted to say.
In
That's what I wanted to
3.4?
say, exactly.
Yeah, dude. In 3.4, I was
it was pure RP. It was pure RP.
Yeah, exactly.
My gunner was barely hitting it. I was just like, man, I love the ship so much. Let's do it at least once. I want want that experience. And who was that? That wasn't Scally. That was someone. I forgot his name from HHN. I don't remember. And he got into a turret, and he was landing some hits, but it would never be as good as actually.
Yep.
Having a proper turret like we have right now.
And there's no future for the game with capital ships, with anything besides an Arrow and Gladius, unless turrets are very good. I don't care if you put NPCs in it; it's not going to be good. You need players.
NPCs have to be bad only for PvE purposes. NPCs, you can hire NPCs, but that should stick. Whenever you bring them to a PvP, it's going with a knife into a gunfight, right?
Yeah.
Player PvP is there for a reason. It's a PvP. If you want to have your turrets be good, put players there. Simple as that.
Yep. No, I agree. And to think that 3 years ago, turrets were a wash. You couldn't even. You had to use auto. Remember, you had to use auto gimbals. You couldn't even play without auto gimbals. It was
I'm going to be honest with you.
Sledges. Go ahead.
I really enjoy turrets where they are right now. For the main reason that obviously not right now, but back when I played a lot of Star Citizen, you know, I could sit there for hours in Light Fighter being sweaty. But then, like Cutlet, for example, could come online. And, you know, I'm starting to get tired. So I just hop in his turret and I can literally just lay back in my chair with my hand on my joystick, wiggling away and just pulling the trigger, killing people.
Is
right?
this a
like
metaphor?
I don't have to be sweaty anymore. No. I'm being serious.
It's a metaphor. Yeah.
No.
Wiggling my joystick on a bed. Yeah.
I just like spending time with Cutlet. But it's nice to like, you can chill out a little bit when you're in a turret, right? Which is cool. I don't have to get sweaty. I like it.
Yeah. That's okay. Well, to loop back to the whole reason we brought this up, like, what do you think about missiles then? Now, this is good because this kind of leads into the DCS stuff, which is.
Oh, I can talk about this.
Yeah. Like, where are you at with, you know, now that we've moved along from the war, you know, or the rivalry between the two orgs? Like, where do you feel? And a lot of the reason for the rivalries, the missile meta stuff. Like, how do you feel about it? The missiles in the game.
So generally, man, I started playing DCS a couple of years ago. I actually started playing with a couple of the guys from CIG, but we're only flying helicopters. And then about like 6 months ago, maybe a bit longer, actually, no, about a year ago, I started flying the F-18 in DCS. And I was actually really lucky in that I streamed it. And I actually streamed it for the same reason that I started streaming Star Citizen, which was I kind of wanted to learn. And I was hoping by streaming it, I might attract somebody who would come and teach me what to do, which I did. And there's a really cool guy called 3Shy who runs a acrobatic display group called the Virtual Black Knights in DCS. And they are really talented guys. And he came and taught me how to fly the F-18. The F-18 isn't necessarily, he mostly flies the Viper, but he kind of taught me the basics, and I kind of worked out where to go from there. And I didn't play DCS for a little while, and then when I came back to it during 317, I decided I wanted to learn how to fly the Viper, because one of the people that I fly a lot with is actually Icy Jones. And back then, Icy Jones was flying the Viper a lot, and I was fed up with not being able to keep up with him in the F-18, and he would always kill everything before I could even get to the AO. So I started learning how to fly the F-16, and then 318 came out, and a lot of people were kind of disillusioned with Star Citizen a little bit, so a lot of people from Star Citizen came over and started playing DCS with me. So in terms of, to bring it back to the missile gameplay, having gotten into DCS after Star Citizen, it was a bit of a shock to learn that there are actually tactics in the way that you defend against missiles, even before a missile has been fired at you. And there's also tactics in the way that you utilize the missiles that you are using offensively. And when I realized this, it made me realize how stupid Star Citizen actually, not stupid, wrong word, how arcadey Star Citizen is. And to give people who haven't played DCS an idea of how it felt to me, it would be like going from Star Citizen to something like Everspace, right? And don't get me wrong, Everspace is a great game, but it just felt so gamey. So I really do. I know that there's quite a few guys, like for example, Leica, who works for CIG, actually comes and he flies with us. And I'm aware that Yogi plays. I'm aware that I forget the other guy's name, but there's quite a few guys from the player experience teams,
like
and the
David,
ship experience teams. David Coulson, thank you. So there are people there who know what missiles can be in Star Citizen, right? But I think we just haven't got there. Now, missiles tie hand in hand really with radar. And I do think that radar, the way that modern radar works, or at least the most modern radars that we have in DCS, is probably a little too complex for the average Star Citizen backer. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way.
Operating radar isn't just like a natural thing. It's like a whole. You have to learn that in DCS, don't you? Like it's a whole computer, right?
It's combat. Well, it obviously it depends on the type of aircraft that you're flying. But say you're flying a modern fighter jet.
Yeah.
The biggest part of the battle is managing your radar.
Yeah.
Especially if you're engaging in BVR, which is beyond visual range. So you're flinging your missiles 20 to 40 miles away. You don't even see the target, right? But this is what I was kind of talking about when it comes to having tactics in terms of missile gameplay. So, for example, and how radar works hand in hand with missile gameplay. So, for example, the way I'll try to keep this as brief as possible because I don't want to send people to sleep. But radar on, well, really now older aircraft like the F-16, F-18, etc., is essentially a cone out of your ship, out of your plane, right? Facing forward, and you can move it left, right, up, and down, and you
without
can
moving the nose of the ship, right, or the nose of the jet. Yeah,
exactly. It's essentially on a gimbal.
Yeah.
And you can widen it and you can adjust the height of it. But something to bear in mind is when you widen it and adjust the height of it, think of it like sonar
like less
on a submarine.
or
it
something?
pings.
Yeah.
What's that? Sorry.
Does it get less effective? Is
It's not that it gets less effective. It's, well, kind of. Think of it like a sonar ping on a submarine, in that it updates when it actually scans across, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So the wider you make it, the longer it takes to update on your radar. So, for example, if it pings and then that person suddenly dives below your radar,
you get the old update. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are things that you can do to make yourself a little harder to spot on radar.
Yeah.
So, for example, one of the things that you kind of do when you're approaching another target is you notch. So you're actually approaching not dead on, but you're approaching at an angle.
Yeah.
And essentially you're lowering, it's a bit like Star Citizen, right? Lowering your emissions almost. Yeah. It just makes the radar a little harder to spot you. But the other thing that it does is, and it's a defensive measure, if they do fire a missile on you and then your radar warning receiver screams at you that there's a missile coming, it just allows you to go defensive and turn away from the missile a lot quicker than if you were flying at them dead on, right? But then on top of that, putting I'm just keeping it as simple as possible because I don't want to send people to sleep. But in terms of putting the radar to the side and how you fire your missile, you obviously want to be as fast as possible before firing the missile, and ideally as high as possible before firing the missile, because when the missile leaves your rail, it has the speed of your aircraft, right? And that missile has a set amount of fuel. So by going as fast as possible and being as high as possible, you're essentially allowing your missile to have a further range and a better chance of actually hitting the target. So I can go into it in a lot more depth. I don't want to send people to sleep.
Do you think that we should have BVR? Like, I guess we have BVR in the sense that you can't see anything 2 kilometers away, right? But do you think that we should have beyond visual range beyond 10K?
Yeah, but something else, I do believe so, but I think we also need to have different types of missiles. So, for example, in a real-world scenario, you have Fox 1, Fox 2, Fox 3s.
Which is
in
like
terms of
infrared, BVR, sonar, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
right?
so Fox 3, for example, is active radar guided. So essentially the way that it works is that when you fire your missile, it's initially guided, depending on the missile, depending on the aircraft. There's some really interesting Russian missiles. But with a Fox 3, if I'm in my F-16, for example, if I fire that missile from 20 miles out, for the first 10 miles or however far, I actually have to keep that target on my radar. Because my plane itself, the radar on the plane, is actually guiding the missile to the target until it goes pitbull. Then once the missile has gone pitbull, which is
where
term
it's like
for...
caught the target itself, right?
Exactly.
Like,
so once it's pitball, it's found the target itself, and it's the missile itself is guiding it to the target.
Yeah.
But then a Fox 2, for example, which is an IR missile, something like the AIM-9X, you need to be a lot closer to your target to fire a missile like that.
Yeah.
And essentially it locks onto the heat of the aircraft, the engines, right? And it's just having different types of missiles means you use different types of tactics, if that makes sense.
And
it's just,
to be honest, like, I think that's what I would like. You know, like, I know, like, in the Tomcats, like, a lot of their gameplay, you know, and like DCS and stuff is like missiles that are, you know, BVR, so beyond visual range. They're like, you know, 80, I don't know what the exact number, maybe 40 kilometers out, right? And you empty the missile payload and then you're gone. You never even saw the thing. You know, and that, and of course you wouldn't want that to be too overpowered or anything, but like maybe adding that kind of complexity would kind of be cool, you know, because right now it's like you got to get within 10K and then that's it, you know, like, and you just let go of the missiles. And another thing I noticed too with, I don't want to stay on DCS too long, but another thing I noticed too with like dogfighting at DCS is some of these missiles are like, you know, you're launching them when you're within a couple 100 meters, you know, like these, you're almost using these at like guns range, you know, just because you can't get the nose around with pitch and yaw quick enough.
Exactly, because you essentially get into a rate fight where you're turning with each other, and because you can't get the nose onto the target, you can lock on with your HMD and then
which is the visor, the helmet, right? And then you launch the missile there. Yeah, and I like and that gameplay looks fun as fuck too. And but keep in mind it's dependent on limitations of pitch and yaw, you know, but it definitely feels like, you know, they're trying to move the game into more of a pilot experience rather than a spaceship experience, which I actually am favorable of. Like, you ask me what's the coolest mechanic about Star Citizen, it's fucking head tracking. I think head tracking is like the coolest thing ever. And I even remember like DMing Yogi about this. I was like, it's crazy how much better the game gets when you actually take things away. You know, like if pitch and yaw is really overpowered in the game, then there's no need for head tracking. You can just whip the ship around instantly. But if you're running into, you know, a ceiling for how fast you can rate fight, and you're depending on head tracking, you know, because you can't get the nose around, I think it's a lot better of a game, you know. And then maybe you know, that's where missiles come, because missiles maybe just fit that area or fit that part of the game where it's a viable option, specifically when you can't get the nose around quick enough. Now, again, a lot of us don't want DCS in space. You ask me, I want them to mimic DCS either in Atmo. I'd love for them to mimic DCS in atmosphere, and then space be a whole nother game. But it's interesting. Like right now, missiles are just lock and fire at 10K, and then you just, you know, pray to Chris.
Generally, my attitude in terms of like the DCS compared to Star Citizen is not a sim. I get people calling, I see people calling Star Citizen a sim, and it is not a sim. I think those people have never actually played a flight simulator in their life. And I would never want Star Citizen to be a sim, because DCS is a niche within a niche. And what I mean by that is the flight sim community is very niche anyway. Like people who play, for example, Microsoft Flight Simulator or X-Plane, etc. That's very niche. But then on top of that, then inside of that niche, you have DCS. And if you actually look at the DCS website, at any one time, there's like 2,000 or 3,000 people playing DCS, which is very, very little if you compare that to the amount of people playing games on some of the popular games on Steam, and even some of the lesser popular games on Steam. I really do believe that Star Citizen should be a game that you can pick up and play, and if you want to get sweaty, get sweaty. If you want to kind of chill, just chill. In terms of like flicky switches in cockpits, You know, we know that flicky buttons and switches are coming in Star Citizen, but something that the devs at CIG have said for a long time is flight ready will always be a thing, right? So you won't ever be forced to actually have to go through and flick all the switches essentially. And I think that's really important, because the moment that you try to force that upon people, essentially you're going to alienate a large portion of the player base, I think. But what I'm advocating and what I would like to see is just more interesting fucking missile gameplay.
Yeah,
I want
that's
to
what
see
it comes
something
down
more
to,
than
right?
just lock on and then fire. And I saw a comment of somebody in chat saying BVR will never work in Star Citizen because DCS is a sim. Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but every time you fucking fire your missile in Star Citizen,
it's BVR.
I can guarantee you most of the time it's BVR.
Yeah,
right?
because they're just a pixel. They're just a fucking pixel. Yeah.
Exactly. But what you can do, right, is still have a variety of different types of missiles that work in different ways.
And I feel like BVR should be an issue with larger ships. Like, if you've got a fucking Idris parked at Jumpdown, BVR should be your biggest issue, right? Like, like you should worry about the torpedo coming out 40 kilometers or out, or something like that.
It really could be as simple as whatever missiles are used for BVR in Star Citizen, they're just less reliable. Like, you're going to be less likely to hit the target, and like you said, they might be more likely to hit larger targets than smaller targets, right? I'm not going to sit, like, you can sit here and theory craft all day about how different types of missiles can work, but they can make missiles more interesting. I'm just kind of
No, I agree.
The entirety of missile gameplays can be right now described by the word shallow, I guess.
I'm sure that they've got planned complexity for it too, but keep going.
Of course, yeah. It's just we never heard about it, so that's why we basically speculate here, right? So I don't think BVR is something bad in Star Citizen, because again, a BVR in a game like Star Citizen it's hard to identify it compared to a DCS, because like in Star Citizen, as Noodle said, it's like almost everything is BVR. Like, come on, it's just your radar is much more arcade and user friendly, right? And you just target and you see that bracket right in front of you. So it's hard to actually understand what is BVR in Star Citizen. But like if we say BVR is everything above like 1 or 2 kilometers, then missiles are already BVR.
I mean,
right?
technically it is, because that's all BVR is by definition, right? Is you can't fucking physically see it. That's it.
Exactly. And I think a lot of like good gameplay can be added from what Noodle said, like leading your missiles, especially in a longer range, without just spamming them and rotating 180 and flying away, would be something I would like to see, probably, especially with bigger missiles like torps and all that. You kind of help them to guide them, and that's why the torp launcher, whatever that chip is, has to stay in a specific position and flight formation for an assault, and that's why that chip is kind of vulnerable for attacks by lighter fighters, and that's why it has to be protected. Like, all that kind of stuff. I think
I always thought the Saber would be like the stealth BVR ship. Like, because clearly they have fucking abandoned the Saber being good at anything guns related. Like, they just, I don't know why, but they hate it. I don't think they like the guy.
Thinks the other way, right?
Right. He's in our Discord still preaching about the Saber. But, if from what we can see, they've abandoned it being a, dogfighter. So, if it's to be a stealth BVR, I think that would be kind of cool, to be honest.
Why not?
You're trying to hang on the outskirts of the fight, you're launching, BVR missiles at people, and then using stealth, you get out. It's cool.
Okay, go ahead.
No, you go on, because I was going to move the subject on a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
I'm close to wrapping this up, by the way, but keep going.
Yeah, I'll quickly recap on a few points here. What is extremely annoying, I think, right now with missiles is the way they make like circles around you. I think that makes very little sense.
Yeah.
It's not immersive. It's not fun. It looks stupid. I know there are certain missiles IRL that do that, but whenever you look at it from the perspective of Star Citizen, it just not good. So
yeah,
I
Iran
think a
has
lot
some
of
crazy
goes
missiles
in,
that do that.
a lot of goes into the tracking cone of missiles in Star Citizen. It shouldn't be like 360, 100%.
Yeah.
In majority of cases, if a missile misses, it should just self-destruct, whatever, fly, drop on.
Yeah.
Something should happen. Dodging it should be harder though, because right now to dodge a missile in Star Citizen on its first pass, you literally have almost to do nothing. Just press a strafe or whatever. 99% the missile will. If you're not in a huge ass ship, the missile will not hit. It's only you get annoyed when there's like 20 or 10 around you and they're all attacking you from multiple directions and one can randomly hit, but that random hit might cause like severe damage to your ship where your engine or wing will fall off and then all others hit because you lost control. So I definitely think missiles should do one pass and then just extinguish. The fuel of missiles should be balanced like on a much like more strict basis, how far they can fly besides the bigger missiles. And then the dodging the missiles should be more complicated. You have to identify where missile is coming from, which angle you have to position your ship in a specific way, and then at the specific distance pop countermeasures and make a counter maneuver, and that should somewhat reliably get the missile off you. So it's a skill check on the receiving side.
Have you ever played World of Warcraft? The reason I'm using this is because when there's a mini game inside of like the casting mechanics. It's like you cast the spell and then you have to interrupt it. Now the guy casting it can cancel the cast and juke you, get you to interrupt, and then you interrupt some cooldown. And the reason I'm just saying this is because if there's a mini game where you need to flare, but you need to flare at the last 10% of this thing, you gotta lure it in before you flare.
Yeah, you lure it in, then you make a move on flare. Yeah.
And I think that again, that would work.
It complicates the defender side a lot. But it removes this annoying circling around the target. So that's gone. But then on top of that, we have to also complicate somehow the launch mechanics. So we're not only complicating the life of the defender, we also have to complicate the life of the attacker, of the one who sends the missile. So I think
what if it was you have to I don't want to keep talking about DCS too much, but Noodle mentioned, what if it was head tracking based off your helmet? These missiles have to be guided in by you physically looking at the ship and helping the missile.
Yeah, but what if you don't have a head tracking thing?
Fuck yeah. No missiles.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? So I think just
different types of missiles, right?
I don't think it's about where you look. It's more about where you position the nose of your ship. So if you make yourself vulnerable for launching and guiding the missile, vulnerable enough where you have to look at the target, that means your evasiveness drops almost to zero and you're prone to an attack, that would be good enough already. And other mechanics I probably cannot come up right now in my head, but there should be a lot of balancing should be done in ranges, how missiles fly and how you launch them. And then Tumblr brought up something I wanted to also bring up. As I said, I've played Infinity Battlescape literally yesterday, and they have quite an interesting missile launch mechanics. If you take that game, that's also kind of BVR there, because your usual gun range starts where you can hit something small, relatively small, will start from 2 kilometers and below. But you can send missiles 10, 15, whatever, depending on the missile. And it feels nice there. The way the ships fly and the way the missiles fly, it feels okay there. They're quite powerful, but they're not OP. You have to catch a certain missile pip before you can launch, and you need to lead it to make it aim better in case they pop countermeasures. And the way they fly, the way you look, they miss and they miss. It's kind of cool. I think if someone has that game, they can go there and try to use the missiles and revisit it's an okay experience. So I think moving towards there, like removing the circling, cutting down the amount of fuel missiles have, improving the maneuverability of missiles, because right now they're dog shit. Improving the maneuverability of missiles, but making proper tactics to dodge them and leading them as an attacker. It will make overall the game
and it's so server dependent too. But yeah, did you have anything?
That's the whole other story. Yeah.
Did you have anything too, Noodle? Because I do want to start closing this up. We're only an hour over.
Before we wrap up, I just wanted to reiterate what I said earlier, which is, half the part of missile gameplay in DCS is radar gameplay, right? Yeah. So, we're talking about how much we want missiles to change, but I think it's also really important that radar changes in Star Citizen. And I don't know if it's still on the roadmap now. There were changes coming, but one of the things I think that's most interesting in terms of like team-based PvP is actually having to communicate with your team members to try and work out who is who on their radar. Because if you don't have AWACS, or maybe there's a friendly who doesn't have data link or link 16, you might have to call out, oh, is anybody at Angels 16, which is 16,000 feet or whatever.
Yep.
To try and work out who that is. Is that actually a friendly? Is that a bogey? Or is it a bandit? And actually using IFF, all right? And I think that's, that might be too much for people in Star Citizen, but I think IFF personally, I would love to see in Star Citizen. I want to kind of move away from this magical radar that we have right now, which is just is this person green? Is this person red? It's so fucking boring,
Yep.
Last thing, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Yeah, so I personally think IFF might be too much for Star Citizen, considering especially all the org stand-ins, and then I would personally see it differently. IFF I think it's going to be too complicated for the community, but with the Raider comes the signature problem, and that's what I agree totally. It should be a Raider gameplay and a signature gameplay thing. Something we probably skipped when we talked about missiles is how signatures play into that. Yeah. And they've become so broken after all the patches, like ridiculously broken. Everything, the cross section, the IR, the EM signatures on all the ships, they stop making any sense. So if that improves along with the Raider, and then everything was said, I think missiles can be much better gameplay, much better like plays.
I'll tell you
in the game right now.
I'll tell you a funny story with like IFF and stuff. Is my friend here, Snake Eater, and another friend of mine, Pliskin, who play a lot of DCS. They tried to rope me in, and I remember I think I've told Doodle this story, and I'm gonna end the podcast with this. But I remember they were flying a Tomcat together, and I was in voice with them. I think I was playing another game, and they were cheering and laughing about how much success they were having missiling these people. And then after they'd come down from their high, after they killed 3 bogeys, you see in the server chat, they're threatening to ban them because they keep killing friendlies. The guys that they were celebrating killing were on the same team as them. So yeah, I can see the IFF point. But
but again,
I do think it needs to get
more
IFF
complex. Means in Star Citizen. If we're talking about just creating a better thing with the chevrons being properly color coded and all that, that's 100% necessity. If we're talking putting another layer of complexity in IFF for players, I think just the community will not take it. I don't know if I'm gonna take it. I'm not gonna yo, listen, I'm an A10 player in DCS, and trust me, whoever did that knows what IFF in A10 means.
Yeah.
When you
in
don't
my
know
F16 is literally one button.
anything, you don't understand what's going on unless you talk to everybody on the server, to their mom, and then call the president, right? Before you do that, you don't understand who's killing you, what's going on, anything.
I think it's really important to understand how the A10 was actually concepted and designed. They went to a scrapyard and just started pulling parts out of a pile, including a bathtub,
Hey,
and a
don't
big
trash
gun.
talk the Drake ships, okay? Don't start it. Don't start it, okay?
God bless. Alrighty, guys. Look, I think that's about it. Do any of you guys have, wanted to cover anything real quickly? Because we are an hour over.
No, we're good.
I'm pretty much done. I'm now gonna sit and wait for the
It's so funny. I was
backlash of this.
you can. This is gonna be an immediate org meeting. We might have
Victor
to.
wants me to say. Victor in chat wants me to say a word, so he believes that I'm Welsh.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, what year is it, Victor? There we go. He'll believe that I'm Welsh now.
But yeah, no. So good stuff. I'm glad to have reconnected with you guys. It's funny. I was like, oh, I'll do a cute podcast once a week, but we're already back to the normal deep dive hours, almost to 3 hours here. But
you want a short podcast? Don't never invite me, dude.
No, it was juicy. It was juicy. So no, I'm happy with it. I don't want it to be laid back. I want it to be fun. And I want to give everyone a turn at it too. I'm sure you guys will be back. I hope to get Snake on there. I hope to get Anaril on here. I hope to get PandaBot. Everyone will get a turn. Even the AVS guys. So. Good stuff. Well, look, the SpaceCutlet's YouTube and his Twitch is just below his webcam. Same with Moist Noodle. Make sure you guys give them a follow, watch their stuff. Noodles streams a lot of DCS, but I think he's getting back into Star Citizen now. And Cutlet's making use of a lot of piracy right now. And I've just got my little YouTube channel, which this will be going on. So if you haven't watched the whole thing, I probably can't post the VOD on Twitch because it's got good music at the start of it, but check it out on YouTube. Thank you, you two, for coming here. Yeah, I appreciate it. I couldn't have thought of 2 better guests to reignite the show with. So good shit, guys. Super fun. I had a lot of fun with this. Yeah, so.
I might start playing Star Citizen again in the next 6 months. We'll see.
Yeah, and you'll have to pick an org sometime soon, Noodle, or get yours off the ground.
I was talking to Cutlet about this. The pressure, man. The pressure.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe B-Berry will get her org
later.
Further together or something, because B-Berry's still got a secret little org, doesn't she? So.
Ooh, I don't know anything about that. That's crazy.
No idea.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's why he's looking off cam. I always thought that like you guys would put together something big. So hopefully that does happen. But good to see the game evolving. Good to see orgs fighting each other. I want to see more content of it, especially from the RAM perspective. PvP, big PvP fights with storylines are always a good thing. Okay, and that's all we should take away from it. So good stuff. Thanks for all the support. I'm gonna roll credits for the guys who gifted subs. San Jiao, who asks me for money but is just throwing money at the screen right now, and thanks for everyone for coming here. Okay, but really good stuff. I had a lot of fun. Thank you guys for coming. Thank everybody for watching. I'll roll credits and finish this up. GG's. GG.